Hello everybody and welcome to day 3 here at the PMCO 2021 Spring Split for the African region. My name is James Banks and I'm one of your commentators, and joining me across this whole wild adventure across this split is Max Man, as we get to enjoy all of the PUBG Mobile action we get to bring you here from the region. And already we're only getting on to day 3, but we got some interesting storylines. Max, how you doing, my man?
Doing absolutely fantastic. Already 3 days in, almost 50% done with the group stage, and now we know we've been hammering down the word consistency pretty heavily on that last day yesterday, and now we're going to be seeing if these teams can try and follow up with their potential really good results of day 1 if they were group A and B, or day 2 if they were group C or D. So overall, I'm expecting the teams that were at the top to continuously get some good results, and the teams that maybe struggled quite a bit, because there were quite a few of those, hopefully step up and rise to the occasion to catch up after those 2 first bad days.
And this is the thing, right? When we come to look at this is where we now get the first day where the groups start to mix up. So like you mentioned, we had A and B, then we had C and D, and this is what we're sat with at the moment. And KHK, right, we came into this, we were told by some of the community that this team was one to watch. Well, they certainly showed up. Not only yesterday did they get a chicken dinner, but they were rocking it out with the kill points as well. And they are just stretches ahead of everyone else. But they will also get to meet up with God Sent Temper later today in the matches, which starts off this interesting battle of, okay, how good are these individuals, right? When you put some of the best from each side going up against each other.
It's going to be interesting to see how they all mix up, of course. And you were just mentioning KHK. I do also want to point out how good Reverb was yesterday. Like, that guy was pulling his weight in those games for sure. So KHK Esports, as long as they have Reverb on their side, they should be good to go. But also, one team that I was talking about before we actually kicked off the stream here, Banks, is actually Art of Killing Esports. We didn't hit on them actually too heavily yesterday, but that was mainly off the fact that we had so many big games from so many other teams taking the wins, but they were just the silent killers of the lobby yesterday, securing himself a juicy 23 kills and 24 positioning points. So they're racking up so far 47 points, barely behind God Sent Temper and Gamers Unite Nation on 48 points each. So Art of Killing Esports, you know what? If they keep getting some good, significant results like that today, they might be able to overtake the teams like KHK, because sure, we're talking about KHK being this big team. They got some big points, which they do in fact have many good points, 67 total, but 50 of those points they had in the 2 first games. After that, game 3 and game 4, they did fall off a little bit. So if they are not able to get some big results again, we could see teams potentially like Godsend or Art of Killing actually take away that #1 spot.
And I love the point you brought up there, right, about Art of Killing Esports, because what they've done is they kind of go under the radar, right? We see them, we watch them get a few kills, we see them get into placement points, but they don't kind of explode onto it. But that's the consistency, right? That's the team where you can say, okay, they're going to be in a good spot. They've found themselves already in 4th place. And if they can just keep this kind of form going, then they can rise up as they go on. Now we go over towards the latter end of this first part. Remember, this is just the top 16 of 32. You look at Slime 4KT. We've been speaking to their manager, Mamba, who's been incredibly helpful in giving us a lot of insight on the region in general. they're another team that's come in this, and we've got high hopes for what they can deliver. But yeah, they had a tough set of games yesterday. But again, they are still in a position where they're up in the upper echelons of it. They've got some great individuals with it. That IGL was the man who, well, we watched at the end, right? He got away with quite literally murder. He was one man alone. He had two teams, one with 3 and one with 4 around him, and he still was able to fight for survival and hit a top 3 placement. So I got to give a big shout out to Storm on that one, because that was definitely impressive with it. When we get to the next side of the rankings, though, right, when we come further down, there were a few teams who were just, I wouldn't say just unlucky, but like, they kind of stuck to their guns, and then they kind of suffered a little bit, right? Because there's a team, like example here is in Saint. They started off on Erangel. We watched them. They got just taken down. They had a team dropping exactly the same spot as them. They're fighting very early on, and they didn't have a hope in hell's chance. Then as you watch the other games go down, they were trying to play a little bit more cautiously, but every time they were taking engagements, they were kind of getting picked off. And for them, they're sat in a point where, okay, this is not looking so good. So now we really need to see what we can do. Now we've mixed the groups in. Maybe we can find more of a space for us to work an advantage with.
Also, they are a point of interest, which is super interesting at this point in the tournament. Reason why, every single team has got 4 games played and streamed on YouTube. You can go check out the VOD now. Hopefully they did their research and they know exactly what drop locations are free, which ones might be contested over every single map. So especially as you are going up against Group A this time around, you must have done your research on what happened in day 1 and hopefully avoid those early contestments. And if they can do so, they can start racking up a few points and hopefully catch up to the top 16. But another team that I'm hoping, and I'm really, really hoping to improve over today, is going to be Existence. Currently 26th position, only 18 points. That is a less than 5-point average per game, which is drastically low, unfortunately. And they were giving great opportunities, just like New Team yesterday. But New Team, over the course of those 4 games, were able to improve and actually aim for really good rotations and put a big focus on good positions. Existence stalled a little bit, remained in a really similar mindset throughout the entirety of day 2 and didn't move too much because of that. So Existence, if you are given great opportunities, I want to see these guys seize the occasion and try and snatch away a win or top 3. No, top 3 is also really good as long as you're able to catch up to that top 16, because Existence were given so many good chances, but they were just not able to grab on too hard.
And that's what it's about, right? It's trying to make sure that you can take the advantage, not just in some of these like really powerful games where you need to hit top 3 placements, but we've seen it. Some teams, what was it yesterday where we saw, I think KHK went out in 8th place and they racked up 14 kills, and we're just sat there like, oh, that overall netted you in terms of points a 3rd place overall. So you were way above what other people can do. And it's finding the balance between what fights to take and what not to take with this. But also when you look towards this part, and like you mentioned, 4 games played now for everyone, there is such a small amount of points difference for you to quickly jump back up. So if you can just have a couple of good days now, if you can really kind of just find your flow, find your form, then you've got a great opportunity to rise up in this. And that's what I love about the formats we have here for PUBG Mobile, because it isn't just like, oh, okay, the first 4 games you can bomb out and then there's no way back in. There is always a solution. And that's why we keep coming back to this and talking about teams, talking about the opportunities they have to look back at their games, do the VOD review, right? See, is there other places we can go that aren't currently occupied on the map? We know the smart play, right? If you were Group A and B, you definitely should have been watching the games yesterday, and vice versa, right? If you're C and D, you should have been watching the games on day 1, because you want to have a look at the opposition you will eventually be facing. And not only just for seeing where they drop, right, but seeing the style of play they have. Look at, for example, we look at what we saw from Slime. We actually saw Storm being this scout that went ahead every single time. He was a true shot call in the sense that he was leading the team, but by example, I would say, right? Going further forward, finding positioning. And we mentioned during, I think it was the Miramar game, he got knocked down, sure, because he was the one being the front runner, but he was able to stay alive. He was able to keep the distance, and his team were not far behind him to be able to take the rest of the squad down and take smart engagements. You might look at the style of play of that and you notice, okay, I'm going to try and see what we're going to find around from this point. We know what to look for in these teams. We know what to be careful of in this position. It's all a learning curve. And, you know, players and teams that adapt, they change it up. They're very reactive and proactive with it, can be quite like smart for the long game. That's how I'd look at it.
I fully agree with that one. I think the overall Storm is a player that we were talking about that can do really good. I've got a few other players that I'm going to be mentioning out. But anyways, we are now going to be taking a point of focus onto today's schedule. Every day, you know, is going to be the same maps. It's going to be Erangel, Sanhok, Miramar, and Erangel once again. But today is going to be Group A and C. We're going to mix things up a little bit and see how these teams can deal up against each other. So hopefully we're going to have some fun games all around today. Nova Kendi once more. I know I'm hurting myself by saying that every single day, but that is fine. I'll get over it one day eventually. It is completely fine. But so we're talking about Storm, you know, doing fantastic for the side of Slime 4KT. And I think another team that I really want to bring your attention to is going to be the side of Influence Rage Africa. They were the only team that took so far a 20-point bomb. That was on game 3 yesterday on day 1 on Miramar. They took a 20-point bomb plus a chicken dinner. That's 35 points total, and they were in number 1 position off of that game entirely, like on its own, which was great. But then they did tend to fall off. But especially the 2 players that I want to talk about here are Hussein and Hansley. We're going to see them play today. They have some of the best duo Q mechanics. They play so damn well together. Hussein is going to be the one initiating those fights, and you always got Hansley backing up. And if Hussein unfortunately fails in his aggression and maybe gets knocked away or just misses the shots, you're always going to have Hansley backing him up in those engagements. So Influence Rage Africa is going to be a team that I'm hoping to see have a little bit more than just, a big 20-point bomb plus a chicken dinner. I hope to see them remain consistent, top 5 every game, or at least maybe 2-3 games would be strong performance from them, because 1 win, sure, that's great, but in PMCO, if you want to make it into PMPL, 1 big win is just not going to make it for the entire run.
And then that's what it's all about, right? Because every now and again, we'll see a team get a win and we'll be like, wow, okay, we didn't expect that from them. But it's if they're able to recreate that, because there's a lot of fundamentals that can come into this where you say, oh, okay, well, they successfully third party. They got a bit of a luck on terms of the circle. What was the team we saw yesterday? It was Existence, wasn't it? I think they had like 3 circles pretty much go dead center of them, and they still didn't do that amazingly, right? And it was like, on situations like that, you need to capitalize on the advantage. And just because the circles land on you doesn't mean you just sit there and chill in it, because then you're also not fighting the whole time, right? Sometimes you need to look out for the engagements. Sometimes you need to take a step forward and say, do you know what? We're going to go out from the comfort zone, because placement points are great, but otherwise we also need to bring out some of these killing points, and also we need to have a good idea of what's going on around us, because I felt like at the end they just got bullied because everyone was like, oh, okay, they're still there. They've not moved. This is very easy to locate.
Yeah, that's exactly the point. I keep mentioning that, like, every tournament I've done so far in PUBG Mobile, I bring up this point. The fact is that people watching the stream most of the time are going to be like, oh, they were given the circle, it was an easy win. Well, being gifted a circle is one thing. Being able to use that circle accordingly is a good thing, because the moment the circle comes your way, all the attention, all the eyes are in your direction. You're like, well, that's what happened to New Team on that last game yesterday, right, on Erangel. All the teams are around them, but because they use the utility super well, put their cars in a really good position around the tree to create a mini fort for themselves, they took the win. And I did not even think they could be able to do so, but they did, and they surprised me, and I was super happy to see that happen. But if you are gifted a circle, that's the moment where you should almost be the most careful, the most proactive, because if you are not being careful, teams will instantly take away that position away from you, and that's a win that you could have potentially taken, but you just threw it out the window.
And that's what you can't be doing, right? Any opportunity you have, you need to make the most of it. And yes, you can talk about there's a little bit of RNG, there's a little bit of luck in here, but it's about how you use that to your advantage, because we've seen many teams, especially some of the less experienced ones, not be able to do it oh so well. But we're about to get into our first map. We are going to Erangel. We get to see what these teams are going to be able to deliver. Now we've mixed up the groups in here. And already, right, when it comes to this, I'm looking down, I'm saying what drop spots we're going to have for some of the teams in here. And realistically, we've got 2 teams now, which is New Team and Saint, who are both going to go for Novo, potentially. Unless they've kind of shook hands on this already, or one of them's made a decision not to, they both do normally drop at Novo. Now, for me, if you're Saint, you already need to fight for a lot of points here. If you choose to just stick to your guns and hit on Novo, then you best be willing to fight very early on, and that's a huge risk considering where you are right now in the points.
I'm going to be looking out for the playing path, see exactly where these teams are deciding to go. Hopefully not too many hot drops, as you mentioned, and we hammered this down many times. VOD review, hopefully teams have been able to understand what team like to drop in which drop location and avoid it all around. New team, you mentioned it, normally they're going to go into Novo. It seems like they are indeed going to be going in that overall direction. And I've seen another team underneath. I'll have to wait to see if I can see the name, but it seemed like they're going to be changing direction last second. So we'll have to see if New Team are going to be contested. Out of killing, also, they're going to make their way to the western side towards Quarry, making sure that no teams are going to contest them. And they're the only team there. They're going to be having the most chill looting stage of the entire game. They're going to have a really relaxed early game stage and hopefully get some good rotations from here on out. But this is also a pretty good playing path. There are a few teams that tend to drop in. There's Napoliana. There was one that dropped in Lepovka from time to time. So a team might have to go for a little bit of an elongated drop and pick up a car to make their way to their drop location. But other than that, no team should be struggling at least to get to their main drop location. This is pretty good. And phase 1 circle pops right on top of the playing path too. Maybe KHK will have to move on down south a little bit. Same for Influence Rage from the northern side of George Pole. But other than that, this is not a circle that's hurting too many teams. But Saint, we're talking about them. A new team clashing, and Moon's got nothing, but he's going to get picked up. It's Uber time.
Yes, it is Uber time. And that's lucky for Saint, right? Because you see what was going past. They've just grabbed the vehicles and they've decided to move around. Now, some shots are going to come out towards them. but hopefully they'll be fine to at least escape for now and get to where they want to. They're picking up the whole team here to make sure they can go for the ride together. They want to play it smart, and this is what I like from Saint. Okay, I don't care where you end up, as long as you've ended up in a position where you can fight the long game, because I was starting to feel bad for these guys. They couldn't get more unlucky so far in some of these games and how it can all pan out. So they'll just get their skates on, they'll have a little drive around, and here we go. We'll split up the vehicles as well. Make sure you can have a bit of safety, you know. I do get scared when we see multiple players in one vehicle, because you know what that can lead to? One big explosion and a quick ending.
I think we saw that Miramar actually happen once or twice yesterday. So overall, I think the team needs to be very respectful about car rotations. It can be drastic from time to time. But we've been hitting the hammer pretty heavily on the side of Saint from time to time. I want to say Moon from Saint. That guy almost clutched an entire game yesterday on Game 4 in Erangel. So really goes to show that they have some true potential. Just got to improve a little bit on those drops and they should be good. But now the fight's going to happen. Revolution up, taking a 1v4.
This is going to be difficult for Revo to deal with. He's being pushed straight away. They come straight on out into it. He's a bit slow on the trigger finger, and well, he still gets it on the beast, at least a knock, but he will quickly be overwhelmed if he's not careful. His teammates are coming in to make sure they can try and make this work, but there's plenty of damage being done across the side of it. A good effort from him. He did get an elimination in there. That's the best of a bad situation, but G4K, they were quickly there with the teamwork. I just think maybe Beast, he went in for the kill. I like it. But maybe you needed a teammate a little bit closer there just to avoid that kind of error where you can be instantly finished off.
Yeah. He was like, homies, I got this. Unfortunately, didn't have this. So a little bit overzealous at the end, and he's going to be allowing the trade-off to happen regardless of Revolution up, which they're going to be pretty happy of that one. They lose a player, they get an extra point. Hey, fair enough. You know what? That's going to be an even trade all around. And overall, how they did act after they did lose Beast, like, okay, we did a mistake. We're not going to do that twice in a row. We're going to fix on that, which they almost did do, by the way, yesterday on Miramar. They almost lost that game to Storm and also to another player that was on the side of Dragons. And so they almost threw that one, but here they act on that one really quickly, and it was still a pretty good execution, so they still pick up an extra frag for themselves. But now Pachinki picked up by the side of Blackjack Esports. That's what they did on day one. Not too much of an issue, and they're going to loot out the entire compound without being contested. So you can expect this team to be tier 2, tier 3 looted to the brim with armor and also with top tier weapons and ammo. So they should be good to go. Whatever fight they take initially is going to be great for them. They should be ready to go.
Well, this is one of the teams you mentioned off here in Imp. It's the Influence Rage Africa team. We have to see what they'll be able to pull up on here. We got the 4 players at the moment in a position where you can comfortably get a lot of loot in something like this, right? They're not going to struggle at a point like this. They probably won't be tested for a while either, and they've got plenty of time to get fully stacked up on the loot they want out here. The Drogons, you mentioned them earlier. I'm trying to remember when we spoke about which player it was. I think it was Nero, wasn't it?
It's Nero, yeah.
Alive. Yeah, Nero came in huge for the team. Helped them pick up a good amount of points considering the rest of the team had already gone down. And they're an interesting one where, okay, they don't have so many points, but when I watch them, I like what I see from the teamwork in there. I think they've just not had luck on their side in some of these engagements and fights they've been taking.
I think overall our team just stepped it up really heavily yesterday. They showed what they're truly capable of. They were like also trying to prove me wrong. I was saying the name so wrong yesterday. I was saying Dragoon so many. I was like, what am I saying? I have no idea. And like, okay, like we're gonna get some good games in, so like they can actually say our name properly. So I got it now as Dragons, and we should be good to go hopefully. So yeah, overall I think that they did great. We had some really good shun from all of the team. And I want to see what they can do, especially Dan. I nicknamed him. I got like a file in which I put my research. I nicknamed Dan the Survivalist. That guy, you can't kill him. He's like a cockroach. Yeah, well, he's got the survivability of a cockroach, not in a bad way, in a good way. Like you come at him with anything, and he'll make it out alive. So I think overall the entire team has got some really good strength, and I would like to see especially more stuff coming up from Bot Jeff. I think he was a little bit silent, you know. Usually when we have a silent player, we call him the support, but I still want to see him act a little bit more with the rest of their team, and if he's able to do so, you have a deadly squad, and hopefully they can secure their very first win today. That would be pretty big as they make their way into their second day of action.
Now Saint, they have stabilized at least. They are in Nova. They've got the spot they wanted. They did the handshake, right? They said, okay, we will be able to fight it off. It was new team. They decided they didn't want to stick around. They took a few shots at them. But for now, Saint can actually have a comfortable start to a game here. And this is where we can hopefully see what they'll be able to deliver. Now it comes to this opening game and then being in the spot of what they want, right? This is one thing I look at. If you have your spot and you potentially were going to contest for it, you've got everything you wanted. Now you're lined up in the mentality side of things to have the best game possible. This is where it's all in your favor.
That's true. So far, also, the circle, we did see it went over to the western side, so they'll have to cross over the bridge. But we saw it yesterday and also on day one. The teams, at least in the African region, seems like the meta's not really focused and putting a big emphasis on bridge camping. I haven't seen much, almost none, actually, throughout all the Erangel games. So it seemed like if you do tend to drop in Sanhok and the rotation goes back up north, you should be good to go. And talking about going back up north, new team are going to do exactly that. But there is going to be the side of God Sent Temper. On the other side, got one player there forward, going to be the lighthouse for the team, keeping the information forward. Hopefully, Flacco will not take that fight to himself if he does get breached a little bit too close, but he's in the building. No one's going to spot that information just yet, so he should be good to go. But at least, once again, the information is going to be fed on over, as here you go, Blackjack and Zeus will be clashing.
Oh, this is going to be an interesting one. Now, Zeus needs to be careful. Zane's already been tagged up and quite low, and he's going to be the next one to be down instantly. Phantom, he jumps on out. Now, there's some extra fire being had, which is potential third party to come in there. This is where they have to be careful, right? You now can't go out too far in the open without potentially being taken down. Iron Man there, looking to deploy some utility and going to make sure he's got some extra cover with the vehicle as well, just in case he needs to fight it off, just in case someone else tries to jump into the party here. But from the moment, BJ, they're just going to continue to move away. They're not going to stick around in this one. They took a few shots at it and they said, all right, we'll take that. We've lost 2 players already. We'll run back now because trying to save this, we know we're outnumbered. And it's too big of a risk for us to take at this point.
Yeah, it's just very unfortunate because they did lose 2 players when they could have just easily made up for that. Just send the scout forward and just get the intel without breaching the compound itself. And then from there on out, go for decision making. But here they're going to send 2 players alone, fully breach and commit to it. Unfortunately, Zeus Sports Africa were on the other side and they just couldn't do much of it. So unfortunately for them, that is going to be a big L. But then new teams back on their rotation. They move on forward in a pretty good spot. And they did avoid the side of Gods and Temper, so that's great. But I want to go back about Pachinki specifically for the side of Blackjack Esport. One thing I wanted to see them do is use Pachinki Hill on the west of Pachinki. Teams tend to do that so much in the top tier 1 esports tournaments, but here seem like teams just tend to forget about Pachinki Hill, and it's such a good temporary spot for information gathering early stage to set up your phase 2, phase 3, phase 4 rotations. I would have loved to see Blackjack go for that position instead of the northern shacks that really at this stage I don't think help you out too much, especially when you already have Pachinki under control. I think that there were so many different options available at hand they could have taken, but instead they went for another one. But new team, I mentioned this yesterday. I want to see them act a lot quicker on circle shifts, go central if possible. They were not doing it yesterday on day 1, on game 1, day 2. On game 1, game 2, sorry, should I say. But after that, they were really starting to step up to the occasion, and now they are going so quick on their rotations. I love to see it. New team, keep it up. This is great.
Oh, it certainly is great from them. That's what they need to continue going forward, though, right? They need to continue to play it smart. A team that we have come to know and love very well here is KHK. And this is a deadly squad you do not want to be facing very early on because they're willing to take the fights, but they've got the teamwork to back it up at the same time here. And all 4 of them have their vehicles to run on forward with. They can take a forward position. They can take control wherever they want on the map here. But now it's going to be interesting to see what they want to try and do, where they want to try and post up on, because they generally, right, didn't play directly center circle all the time. They were looking to play off the edges, fight their way in, but they didn't ever really get gifted a single circle, right? If I remember all the games, it was them kind of chasing into the circle, mainly coming from the north. We had Severny obviously both times when it comes to Erangel, but even in Miramar, right, they jumped out right at the top.
Actually, on the first game, on Erangel, they actually swum through. Like, they were struggling so much, and they were getting gate kept in the river also, and yet they were able to make it to the western coastline of Sanhok Island and snatch away the win. So it really goes to show, even if the RNG is sometimes not in your favor, if you're a team like KHK Esports and you can't always deal and fight under pressure, you can get those positions under control without too much of an issue. Now, new team, once again, I said it, they keep on moving on forward, going pretty central. So far, they are dead center of the circle in a really good compound. It is a good compound to hold on to. It is pretty hard to rotate away from it, though, so hopefully they'll be very cautious of what's about to happen in the future. Because during that time, also, they're having team number 12 around the corner, going to be spotting that one out. That is going to be Spazza6, that did take the very first win of the tournament on day 1 on Erangel. So they have a lot to show off today, because after that first game, that first win on day 1, they fell off. We didn't see much of Spazza6 after that, so I want them to show me and prove to me today that that one win was not just a fluke, not a random dub that they won after that weird circle. They can actually get some wins, or top 3, top 5s on a really regular basis. As they're taking a few shots, trying to pop the wheels off the Dacia of Darkness, but the shot's just not able to connect here, just here, Banks.
He's firing off the warning shots, seeing what he might be able to find at least. Trying to do a bit of chip damage, and We also mentioned this a fair amount, right? It is a point of where you're making them know that this place is occupied as well. You're firing off a few warning shots, maybe trying to bait them in to try and take a fight with you. UAE at the moment, though, they've got a nice high ground to look on in before they make their approach. So you saw that they were scouting. They were making sure they can have a good idea of what is potentially in front of them. And they make the decision on where they want to go. Now, we mentioned new team. We just saw Darkness. He found himself knocked down on the floor for now. So a little engagement going on elsewhere. But for UAE, they're going to drive on by. They don't want to take this fight onto Revolution. They're going to make sure that they just bypass them for now. And oh, the circle. Is it okay? It's not too bad. Close enough to center. Still a fair amount of water in there. You got to love the water crates. Who wants to ever take that risk? I strongly do not advise that you try and do that ever. You know, KHK, they're probably a mad enough team that they would try and do that and get away with it somehow. You know, they'll probably just prove us that it can work. But for me, that's too much of a risky play. Too dangerous.
I'm having PMWR flashbacks here as 777 under fire. Iraq going to find himself one knockdown for himself. The kill has yet to be confirmed, though, as Duffy, Nico on the side. This is a position where, unfortunately, it's still rather flat terrain. So if you're not careful how you move and rotate, you might go out. Duffy going to smoke it up. That is great if you want to try and get back to your fallen teammate, Duffy, and get him back up. That would be great. So Typical is going to be on the menu. Duffy makes it up. There you go. Nico, great shots from him with the DP, by the way. And Erangel get knocked away. They are taking that fight rather well, despite not having a compound to fight from.
Yeah, just hiding behind the trees and rocks to play around. Even with a player knocked down, they've managed to get the revive in play. Oh, that's not what you want to see happen, though. Nico, he did not expect that one to come through. It's UAE who's also joined the party. And now this is where it's a real test for him. So many teams contested on the same area. Relax, he's next on the floor. New, they are heavily under pressure. And Saint are taking the fight right to them. And they know there's players all around them, not just from one team. But Saint, they've come here to do the cleanup duty. Only Tsuko left to find. Moon is on the hunt for him as well. Lord's on the floor. They should be able to revive him quite comfortably, but they've got to be careful on this. They've got to be really careful because they're in a position now where, okay, you've jumped into a fight. You've taken the advantage here. You've managed to deal away with new team, but look who's just around the corner. 777. They were already hitting some shots. They had the smoke to provide him some cover, and 7, oh, typical. He was ready for it. The car comes on through. The shots are going to be landed. There's a molly being placed out. As typical, he wants to be able to try and fall back. UAE trying to push it from the sides as well. And this compound is being swarmed from either side. UAE on one, Saint on the other, and 777. They are trapped in the middle. This is not what they want to see happen. But if he can just buy himself enough time, he might be able to pull off the revive. That's a good nade. Oh, no! It lands, bounced off the wall, and it's perfection. UAE Matrix getting it done with a really well-placed grenade. Often we see these nades. They get close, right, but not that good. Straight off the back of the wall, right on top of them, and puts an end to them. Only 14 teams remain.
Undisputed African esports. They're not playing PUBG Mobile. They're playing squash right now. So they're having some really good bounces off the wall. And that was some great connection. So overall, now the compound, they take it away. Still good off respect to the side of 777, as it did come to this game as a 3-man squad. Hopefully, the next 3 other games, they'll come in as a 4-man full squad. That will be making things a lot easier for them, hopefully, at least. New team, we did see them earlier, went down. Saint, able to take Wiz. Why would call here, Banks, easily? And I hope you agree with this. Like, what is their best fight so far as a team? We saw Moon doing great yesterday, and this was some really good showing off synergy and just, okay, there's not many good compounds around here. That's a good compound. We're going to fight for it, and that is a fight that sometimes is worth taking, especially on phase 4. That is so damn valuable. But Nero, the clutch master of Miramar yesterday, the nade comes out.
Oh, this is brilliant. Nero, he threw the grenade out first, took a few shots, does duck down because he wants to be careful, but Monster, he's pinned behind a buggy, and well, we know a buggy doesn't give you that much room to work with. The grenade goes over the top. Nero's managing to stay alive. The blow's going to come in, and oh, Monster, so low on health. He's just about stayed alive. He's got to be so careful. He may have grabbed himself 1 kill already, but the pressure is on, and the nade come through. We're just seeing grenades for days. Oh, Nero, he's not done yet. He's throwing more forward. He wants to finish them all off, and he's getting it done. Oh, they just keep hitting the floor. Can he get the finish off, though? That's going to be key. And for G4K, this is not good. The revive may be able to come in, but he can be swarmed at any point. And the Drogons, they're starting to make their approach. Another grenade coming forward. Might have just fallen short. Oh, just around the side. He's so low, but he's got the revive off. And they're also going to be taking damage from the blue. Dan's on the side, and he wants to come in with more kills here. He's spraying through the smoke, hoping to find him, but it's G4K that go down to the Drogons. And that was nades, and some more nades. Pure shells going up in the air and putting an end to the lives of G4K.
That's just vengeance for yesterday. They didn't take the win purely because the fact that G4K actually took that win on Miramar. And there you go, Dragon's showing off to the occasion. Really good showing. And Nero, I wrote on my notes earlier, the almost clutch god because he was not able to barely clutch it. I take the almost away right now. He is the clutch god of this tournament so far. This guy is mental when it comes down to it. But yet the circle moved away from their location. They're potentially going to have to fight once more. But I said it though, the silent killers of this lobby, the art of killing team, they dropped towards Quarry in the early stage on phase 1. They just slowly sneaked their way in from the western edge. And now you're going to have to take that fight head on with KHK Esports, one of the top teams. If you want to make a proof of concept of your team, this is the team you want to take down. Mestre takes the first nade knockdown for himself. Let's see if they initiate off of that knock now.
I feel like this lobby has more nades than we've ever seen because everyone's throwing them forward. The Molly's out there as well. And KHK, they need to be oh so careful here. They have been completely pressured and they're out of it. Wow, that was quick. I know they were down a man already before they went into that fight, but 3v4, I was like, KHK, okay, you know what to do with this. But AOK, they just came in. They knew what was going to be going down. And of killing esports, they just took down one of the titans here very early on. And I don't think KHK had many kills, Max. Maybe one?
We'll have to check the stats later on, but I think they got barely nothing that game. They were just focused on rotations, and then they just put into an inferno of a hell streak with those mollies too. They really struggled. Now, UAE going to also send one player forward. Unfortunately, Maniac is going to be headshot by Eris with that Uzi. So very unfortunate. And during that time, you're going to see a few players trying to snatch away those kills. That's going to be Plaza 6 just trying to like, hey, you know what? 3 kills. It's free real estate. Hey, 3 kills for us. Please give me more.
Please give me more. Yes, that is what all them are going to be saying for now, at least.
Oh, Matrix.
8 kills for now. Only 1 player dead. Matrix. Oh, no. He's under heavy fire there. They've got him pinned down in the heart. Okay, there's plenty of cars for some coverage. Smokes are going to go down as well, but this is tough to avoid. You make one wrong step and you see Coco, he's just hitting real nice shots from here.
Yeah, he's really putting the pressure down, pinning them down inside of that shack. They can't do much. UAE might be going out really soon, especially because I believe all of those cars, they all exploded, all lost their will, so they're not going to be a really easy way of commotion forward. But at least they are in the circle. If they want to remain here for the latter part of this game to just snatch away a few extra positioning points or kills, if they get the proper angles, then I am not going to complain. But Influence Rage Africa, I mentioned them early on. We want to see if they can do more than that one chicken dinner on Miramar on day 1. Seem like they're doing so. They got themselves a nice little split. I think they should regroup, but unfortunately, as they are in a field, that is pretty hard to execute. So I'm gonna give up on that entirely. As if they can't regroup, that'll be fine. But here, Plaza 6, they are really trying their best to potentially take away this compound because they know that if they shift right into the circle, this is going to be the team to take them down. Oh yes, oh no, the headshot doesn't connect. But nice try with a Car 98.
Oh, I thought he was for sure going to hit that. Nice bit of damage, but not quite the knock he would have wanted to come into play there. Though he does have the information to work off of now. But his position will be known, and they'll be slightly more defensive coming into this. Now, Godsent, currently in a good position overall throughout the standings. Sat just behind KHK. With KHK being down and out of the lobby already, you know they'll want to take full advantage of that and grab some big points here. But they don't have all the kills just yet. But AOK, they're in the other side of things. They've picked up a fair amount themselves. Oh, this is not what Zeus want to see. Burning alive. The mollies are landing, and AOK, they continue to take squad after squad, and they're taking it very meticulously, right? They're going one team at a time. They're not engaging in these big brawls that are happening around the rest of the map. They're being smart in what ones they're taking and when to fall back. And this is something they can work with going forward quite nicely here. But Godsent, they're still pinned. They know where Temper are. They understand what's going on around them. But they know that one wrong move could mean it's all over for them. They're just having to find the right timing, the right position to take the fight they want.
Yeah, Ghazi squad in a really tricky position. Reminds me of a game 1 yesterday when you had a lot of teams going into the compound later on, and the moment they had to shift away from the compound, only one team, or maybe 2 if you're lucky, will actually make it out alive. So here, the team that will be able to take the fight first and take the fight properly will be big, but Dragon's going to be taking that fight without influence. Oh, but if they lose one instantly, it's down to QSEN only.
That is not what they wanted to see. They did not expect that such a close range fight to be taking place. Nero, you can see his teammate on the floor. He's going to go in for the revive. Nice timing on this as well. Being careful as he looks around him. He knows that some bullets could be coming on through anytime soon. As Inf, they've turned up. More players are there, and it's Hansley. He prones on down. This 2-2 split they're playing off in the fields for now. They want it to work out for them. They want to be able to get the revive in play. The Drogons, they have them surrounded. All it would take is potentially one well-placed nade, but actually trying to get inside the hut is going to be so difficult here for the Drogons. This is where you're struggling to be able to move from it. You see Blade, he's creeping his way on up. He wants a revive as well.
I just love also the fact that Nero did not go for the flush right away because he knew they were split away from each other. They could not go for the res. He's like, I got time. I'm going to put focus on our own res to get back as a two-man team. Then we'll get the flush later on if needed because he knew they were as a 2-2 split. Revolution up, straight trying to make their way down. Great nade from Skydo, perfectly executed. Third kill so far for his team. But it's now only going to be Hansley and Skydo. And I said it, Hansley and also Hussein. They are a deadly duo, but Hussein going to be out of commission. Let's see what Hansley can do. The spray comes out, but the knock has yet to come on through as they're going to fully commit with a UAV push, making it straight to the rock, potentially going to try and go for the push in a shack. The Skydo's got some more nades ready to go.
It has been Nade City. I want a new counter. I want a new scoreboard just for grenades coming through. I feel like we've seen so many in this game. Now Skydo, heavily under pressure. He's ready to take the fight. He finds the first knock there. It works out perfectly for him. Only one more player to find, and he knows he's got all security. It's them that are going to be struggling out here because they are playing the fighting game. More grenades being used. This time he's going to throw the molly with it as well. Oh, and it comes back at him, Skydo. That was not ideal for him. But while this is all happening across the other side of the map, more fights are happening because the circle is small. We're at phase 6 and it is game on for all the players that are left. This is a hugely open area, and if you can find some cover, well, you're damn lucky.
Forever, we saw him take that car a little bit too fast. I'm a big fan of Sonic, and unfortunately, Gotta Go Fast is not going to work out for him in PUBG Mobile, so he's going to unfortunately go down because of that, and his entire team of Revolution Up will be eliminated in 7th. Now, only 6 teams, and still, UAE, we thought they were in a world of trouble earlier because they were just getting pummeled down by the teams down south in the compound, and yet they were able to hold on strong, move away from that shack. That was super hard to execute, but you know what? Snakes do be what snakes do best, and that is going to be snaking their way inside the circle. On the western side, uncontested as of yet, they got a world of smoke still available at hand. As now God Sent Temper. Talking about smokes, they're going to pop their own. They're going to try and make their way in the southern side, but the sprays are still coming on through from all of the teams around.
They've been spotted out, not by just 1 or 2 players. It's 3 or 4 players from different teams as well. Shots are going to be taken. Noise is going to be heard, and they can play off of that, right? They start to hear on what side they might be facing on. They can make a decision on how they want to try and play it out. Inspector looking to find as much cover as possible. If it's a bush, if it's a smoke, and he's taking the chance to run, move around, and try and escape towards the sides.
Oh, Undisputed still trying to make their way forward. Unfortunately, I believe they're out of smokes currently, so they're going to have to do the rest. Just crawling their way forward. Skydo. Oh my god, how does he see that? These guys got eyes are... I don't get it. That's more than 20/20 vision. That's like 30/20 vision. God damn, I gotta say, impressive stuff still coming out from Skydo. I think that we were talking about what the African meta can bring to the table. I think that one word is going to describe it. Grenades. Grenades have been insane from circle phase 1 until this circle phase 6 going into phase 7. So overall, all these teams have got some good utility focus and playing extremely well. But now the game is about to close off, and still Undisputed African Esports, 9 frags in this game. We didn't see too much of them in their first day, but going into day 2, their second day of action, they have really risen up to the occasion. Maybe looking for double-digit kill count. Temper spots it out from the side. The Shady will get knocked away by Inspector once again off UAE. That's an extra kill, and finally double digits going their way.
UAE with 3 players still alive, deploying as many smokes as possible to try and give themselves the cover. They don't have the full information though on where the rest of these players are, and it's the Drogons with only 2 alive in Nero and Dan, hoping to take the fight, hoping to find them. Inspector still doing great work off the side of the smokes, and they're using this so well to their advantage. That's what's been impressive here. They can play in the smokes, they can play behind the bushes, and they can still take the fights just off the edges of it. You give them a little pixel to look around them while they're taking the most out of it. UAE up at 11 kills, and another Dragons player is finding himself knocked down. Nero is going to struggle to get back over towards him to help him out. The Skydo, he's slippery snaking his way forward. Does he know how close he is to some of these players? Nero spraying out there in the meantime, and then it's just a battle of who's going to pop first, who's going to be spotted out first. Eventually he goes down. It's Skydo that finds him, and Skydo, he's just taking fights against every team while being right in the middle of it all. He's still looking to try and take it into the hut. This time it won't work out for him. He does eventually fall, and now it's UAE to try and clutch this one out. They've already got 12 kills. A win here would be absolutely huge. Sahil and Matrix now looking to try and find their way in.
Oh,
oh,
that looks good. Oh, it bounced through the window. No.
That was so close. I thought that was going to be perfect. More nades coming on through. They managed to get the knock on. Shade has to get the revive in, but this means that the UAE can push on forward. They can take the fight, and that's exactly what they're going to do. Shade can't pull off the revive. He's going to try and take some extra shots in here. They're running around. He tries to get the information for his team, but he's being overwhelmed and run down. And that is it. UAE take a huge first win here on Erangel.
14 kills. This team is on top for sure. You can only say that. Huge respect coming out to the team. And we saw it also in the final moments to close off the game. The grenades are just so good of the entire African region. That is just some top tier grenade gameplay. Normally, that is the Chinese speciality, but I gotta say, African, they got some good nades of their own. So I would love to see some Chinese and African team going up against each other in the near future. But what an impressive showing from UAE. The moment we said they're struggling, there was Spaza 6, they were taking shots, they were locked down in that little shack position, and they were getting knocked away. They had no cars. I thought there's nothing they can do from that position. They just snaked it through, waited for the teams to focus on other squads around them to make sure that they can easily make their way into the southern western edge of the circle. And the moment they were over there in that position, all the teams had to keep on moving forward. The circle kept going their way for like many times, and like, okay, we don't have to move too much, a little bit at a time. And that point on forward, when you know exactly how to execute that game, wait for everyone to decimate each other in the lobby. And when it's down to the final team, they get an extra knock to make matters even easier, take a 2v2 down to a 2v1. And the moment they knew that was a 2v1 for sure, they're like, okay, full commit, we're going to push it and run it in the open fields. It is still a risk, but regardless, we got the man advantage. They sent it and they took the dub. Huge win coming out from Undisputed African Esports. Before this game, Banks, they were 21st, and now they are in 6th position from one game alone. That is one insane jump for them.
This is crazy. KHK, what did they get? I'm trying to remember. Can you remember what the points were on KHK? Was it 61?
That was 67. They got 2 points.
67, so they got 2 points. Oh my. So they only got 2 points from that. It's allowed God Sent Temper to rise on up. And I've got to actually say something here. So God Sent Temper is just called Temper now. I've just been told by Mamba, the man who's informing us the whole way through, they are no longer with God Sent. So we will just refer to them as Temper. But they are currently sat in 2nd place after that game. And they had a good game, but it wasn't like an insane game for them to play catch up like this. And UAE, right, they just came up huge. That was, what a brilliant play. All I've got in my mind right now, Max, is just a crazy amount of grenades. I want to count grenades. I need a grenade counter. I'm going to go back and watch the VOD and see how many were thrown, see how it all went down.
Back in PMGC, they actually had a curse counter for me for how many times I would curse a team. Like, just for me, they made a special graphic that was super nice. So we'll see if we can get one set up. That will make things pretty interesting on the broadcast. But now making our way onto the 2nd page. Revolution up. It did catch up a few extra points for them, but Saint, that is the team. They started off the day with, unfortunately for them, not many points to show off with. So here they're trying their best to catch up, rise up to the occasion. They're trying to do so. They kick off the day with 19 points, so they only got 2 more extra. But at least how they were playing was still a really big step up in my eyes. That if they keep going down that path of playing aggressive and playing together, I'm sure they will not remain in the bottom 16 for too long, because I believe this team has really true potential.
Yeah, I agree, right? Because we saw them take that fight, and that was not an easy one to come into while there was other teams also taking it. The great grenade we saw that he bounced off the wall was perfect, right? There's little moments there we saw from Saint where they were more confident, at least today. And if they can keep that going through, yes, okay, you're far down the points right now. But if you really think about it, okay, you're 24th. Look how close you can. One good game, a couple of consistent games where you're middle of the pack, you can easily rise on up in this. So it's definitely not over for them, guys. For 777 Esports, we saw them a little bit in this game, but they're still struggling here with just 2 points. And this is the problem. When you get to like day 3, start of day 4, and you know you're not playing the next games, you go, okay, we got 10 points now. Like, to try and catch up from that point onwards, that's where it becomes almost impossible for these guys.
We got 6 days of group stage, right? Like, after today, we're 50% done. That doesn't mean we're 50% done with the games of all groups. Of course, you still got Group B and Group D to play. They're going to be going up against each other tomorrow on day 4. But you're starting to think that now you're almost halfway done. Okay, if you're behind now, is really, you don't have many opportunities to catch up to the occasion and get back in those top 16 spots. So if you're a team that currently is still behind, this is starting to be a little bit stressful. I did say, no, one day bad, sure, it happens to the best of us. No, stuff happens from time to time. I get it. But now, if I'm one of these teams, I'm thinking, okay, we're not playing as good as we should be. There's definitely some issues. How do we fix that? Okay. Well, of course, VOD review and analysis is one of those ways to fix those issues, but it is starting to get a point of desperation where if you are behind now, you might be starting to get stressed out. And unfortunately, when you are behind, teams tend to do sometimes some mistakes or play to the best of their capacity. But also I talked with a few players when I was doing the PMGC, and they also tend to say that sometimes when you're behind, when you're in those bottom positions, and especially at a stage like PMCO, that's where teams have basically nothing to lose, right? And they're just, and when teams have nothing to lose, sometimes that's when they're the most dangerous because they play to have fun, get some good games, and that's when they come in fragging strong and sometimes just barely qualify as they were just not even expecting it themselves.
You can try the Hail Mary approach, right? If that starts to happen, if you sit in a position where you go, okay, maybe I can't get any better here. Like maybe this is just all over. You play a bit looser, you play a bit freer, and you say, oh, I'll take some fights, and you start winning it, and then you go, ooh, maybe I can make my way back up. You can never say never, right? You can have some insane games. I know it's very tough. I know it can look all doom and gloom, but it's all about keeping that mental fortitude strong, keeping yourself in a position where you believe you can do it and anything's possible. Sometimes being in a looser spot makes it work out for you.
That can indeed be the case most of the time for that one. So hopefully teams can try and improve on that a little bit. And, if you are stressed out, if you are falling behind, don't give up. Still PMCO. For a lot of these teams, you do have to keep in mind the fact that this is, for many of them, their very first esports event, their very first tournament that they ever played. And this is what PMCO is for, to try and see which teams potentially have it in them, or some teams that maybe have still a little bit more to work on to make it to those bigger stages and those higher stages all around, and potentially make it to PMPL. Like we saw it for many teams like Class Digital Athletics, Zeus Esports in Mongolia, making it from PMCO right into the Dubai finals of the PMGC, the Global Championship. So it really goes to show that it is a dream that can become reality, but it takes a lot of work and effort and good mentality to potentially make it to those later stages.
Oh, definitely. Now, I've got to remember everyone here that it is the coming Oppo Reno 5 series will be the official designated smartphone of PUBG Mobile, Middle East and African esports for 2021. It's equipped with excellent hardware and software gaming. The device should always be yours to lift and upgrade the fun and enjoyment in the battlefield. And with that being said, we want to get back to the battlefield real soon. So we're going to kick it to a break. And when we come back, we're moving on to map 2 of day 3. Welcome back, everybody. We're moving quickly into game 2, and we are going over to the beautiful side of Sanhok. We started with Erangel, we go to Sanhok, then we go Miramar, and then we get another Erangel game to push you out for the rest of the day. And one thing we did notice straight away here is, I'm not going to go too far into it, Max, but KHK, yeah, they didn't go too well for them on Erangel, right? You know, like, not the start they would have wanted here. And this is where you get the test of a real, true professional team, because they bounce back from a situation where they go, we had such a great games yesterday, and then now it becomes slightly problematic for us. That's where we start to learn about the depth of their mental fortitude, of how far they can go in this with other teams now in it, because when the lobbies get mixed up, we always talk about it. Some of these other teams can start to come in, and God sent Temper, right? Sorry, I've got to now keep remembering to not call them God sent and just call them Temper. They came into this quite far behind, and now when you look at the rankings, they're slowly catching up, and that's just one game. So it's so much of a difference these games can make here.
Yeah, it's true. Overall, wait, what was the word we were bringing up a lot yesterday, Banks? Oh, yeah, consistency. Oh, yeah. Exactly.
Yeah,
that's the name of the game. If you remain on top all the time and hit top 5s many times in a row, at least get some kills to make up for that lack of positioning points, you're going to be in a really strong spot. Like currently, we're seeing KHK, sure. No, 2 good games. They also had a good third game, actually, on Miramar. They got a few extra points coming up their way. But they've fallen off. They only got 2 points that last game. And if it keeps going this way, hey, Temper, they currently only 8 points behind. 8 points, and they can potentially contest away that number 1 position and snatch away the spot. Even though currently, when you're number 1 position, second or third, it's not really about qualifying or not, because when you're in that position, you're already basically qualified. You're already halfway done with your games. Yeah. You're pretty much set and done. But it's for the prestige. Be like, yeah, boys, like, you know, I'm just going to flex at school with the homies. I made it number 1 of PMCO in a group stage on my region. You know, no biggie. So at the end, these teams are still trying to make a pretty big statement for themselves and show that we're not only a team that's going to qualify, we're going to qualify dominantly at that and make a statement in the African scene, because once again, the African scene, I do believe, has a lot to offer on the international stage. And by seeing how good those grenades were, like we were talking on the break with me and Banks for a sec, like those grenades were mental. And I would love to see what it does on the international stage against like teams from, once again, China or even just Indonesia in general. So I would love to see which will be the few teams to make it out of Africa and make in their respective PMPLs to make a mark, hopefully, on the world.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, right? Because even our producer, so we have a producer, she's lovely, she tells us what's going on, she makes everything's running here for the PUBG mobile streams, and even she was like, that nade through the window, like that's the scene that we just caught us by surprise. You called it, Max, you were like, oh, it's going to hit. I'm sat there thinking, oh, he's going to get it just by like one crazy nade to end both 2 of them there, and then nope, slight miss, narrowly does it. And you know what? It's one of the hardest things when I look at these pro players, and we can watch the players and you go, oh, that looks so good. It's another thing, Max, isn't it? Trying in your games. Like, I would say I'm pretty competent at PUBG Mobile. I'm pretty damn good. But when it comes to my nade positioning and firing off, I'm like, I've hit and missed so many times. I've made some huge mistakes and errors on distance of how far I want to throw it.
There's also one thing that I remember we were talking about. We had some interviews happening during PMGC, especially with some of the Chinese teams. And one pro tip that you can apply in your games, Banks, and everyone out there that's watching currently the stream, what professional players tend to do in PUBG Mobile to be a lot more precise on grenades, they switch from third-person mode to first-person mode, and your grenade trajectory is actually a lot better. So they'll just, like, before chucking the grenade, first-person mode, throw the grenade back in third-person mode, and you'll be a lot more precise and have a better impression of where the grenade is actually going to land. So, hey, there you go. That's a little tip that professional players tend to do. They don't always do it, but if they want to, like, thread the needle perfectly in a window, first-person mode is going to be the way to go most of the time.
And if you got some time, right, to be able to do that just quickly, because obviously it's going to be very situational, I can see that working really well. So yeah, I'm gonna try add that. We need to do some more Max Man tips now, I think, right? Whatever you've been learning,
we'll bring your segment
from these guys. We're gonna throw that. We'll make it a new segment in between the games. Max Man's tips, where he helps us all become that slightly bit better on it. But you got to remember, he plays on a tablet, which is not acceptable. You need to get him on a mobile. We need to push you onto one of the Oppos now. We need to get you ready for this, Max. We're gonna upgrade you and change your whole life.
I'm getting tablet shamed. I don't think that was possible. I was like, dude, we're going to have Banks on the show. We're going to have some fun over here, but I'm just going to get shamed. And they took Vikendi away. This is horrible. I'm not having a good time over here. But you know what? The players at least are making it worth my time, and we're having some fun games all around. But yeah, so now to go back on the subject, to avoid making me sad even more, talk about what's going to be happening on our second game. So, of course, you know, Sanhok yesterday was won away by Team UNK. They snatched it away from KHK that struggled a little bit.
Yep.
And I'm basically going to be looking out here once again for a new team. I know I've been talking about this team a lot because I really believe they have some true potential for them, but they were way too slow to rotate yesterday on Sanhok, and they improved after that on Miramar and the 4th game on Erangel. I want to see them on this one be a lot more proactive, because if you are a team that is slow on a map like Sanhok, you're outside of the circle, there's not much room to play for. It's a 4x4 map. There's not much space. You're going to get gatekept almost 100% of the time. It's very rare occasion where that might not happen. So I want to see new team and also teams like Existence coming into this also hopefully on their own maps of Sanhok be a lot quicker. If they can be a lot quicker, sure, sometimes you're still going to take a fight and lose it, but at least you are giving yourself a chance of not getting gatekept and held into the blue zone, because your biggest enemy on Sanhok is not really the teams, is the blue zone. If you are too slow and you are getting gatekept, the blue zone is just going to chick, like as the Mustache Dave would say, Papa Blue's going to take you down. So you better be careful and be a little bit quick on your feet to make it in a good spot.
Now, you touched on new team there, right? There's one thing they need to be very careful of as we get the amazing information here from Mamba. Quarry Split is where new team normally go, and that's also where 777 esports go. So again, we get a clash on positions as these two groups come in to face each other for the first time, and we got to see, do they do the handshake? Do they do the fight for it? And what we saw from new team, right, is there's certainly a team that could fight when it comes to it. And I don't think 7, they cannot risk it. They look how far behind they are. What, they've got 2 points total at the moment. Like, if you know that another team's going there, you just avoid. You just change somewhere else. You've done your research, hopefully, and you say, I will give up this spot because it's too big a risk. Even if they go into a fight and say they win it, but they lose 2 players or 1 player, that early on, it's just not going to be what they need in a time like this where they need to play catch up. So they've got to really have a big think about that. So I'm definitely going to keep an eye on what positions these two teams end up in. But for new team, they can comfortably sit there and say, it's our spot. We own it. Come get us. And that's what I want to see from those guys, right? Because we've liked what we've seen and you keep mentioning them, but this is where they can be tested in a different way. Maybe well, hopefully they expect, but maybe they don't expect, because we speak about VOD review and we keep trying to drum this home, but we still see teams that just don't do it or don't really know what's going on. And they're saying, oh yeah, we didn't expect it. It's like, guys, come on. Like we're covering the games. We see this, we're learning. Like, come on, you do it as well. It's much needed here, especially if you want to be a pro.
Like, also for a lot of these teams, this is, as I mentioned earlier, their very first competitive experience. So they are mentally coming into this one and they really know like how they should play the game. They're learning itself on that, but also how you should be, I would say, almost playing outside of the game. It's just like learning what kind of attitude and mentality you should try and adapt and get used to. And if you can just get into the mindset of you play your games off today, you have a break, you chill with the bros, take some games, smash some noobs or bots if you want in lobby, that's fine. Do anything you want. And then just have a few games of like time, a little bit of time to do VOD review and maybe just training matches with the team to try and work on that synergy overall. Making matters a lot easier for you in the long term. And it's something that will not only help you out on the current time, but also in the long term, because the more you work, the better you'll get. You see teams like Bigatron, world champion of 2019, 2020, not quite there, but almost, but still, even though they were on top of the world, on top of their own gameplay, their career was at its peak. And they were still training like they were a team that newly made their way into PMCO. So it goes to show that even though you can be the best team in your region, in the world, or whatever, in the universe, doesn't matter. If you keep on working, you know that no one is going to contest that spot away. So hopefully teams are able to adapt to that mentality, get used to it, and just keep on improving over time. And if they're able to do so, I do really believe that not only a few of these top teams will make it, but also so many other teams that maybe are struggling now will be able to make it. Maybe not this spring split, but you've still got full split in just a few months' time that you can go back in for a second attempt to maybe make it in your respective PMPLs.
And this is what when you're talking about the splits, right, and the whole year ahead, we're just at the beginning of 2021, and we go back to when we first covered PUBG Mobile. It was 2019. It was all things just starting out. The development, the prize pools, the growth, the addition of regions. That's another thing, right? This is new. The African region now has got its own dedicated spot. We're seeing incredible growth across the world and across regions like this in order to find success for new players. This is an opportunity of a lifetime because I'll go back onto a huge tangent here. I started playing Counter-Strike as a game in 2003 when the game was first, before esports was really a big thing. And because I was at the very beginning of that, I was able to become a pro player very early on. If you're sat there in PUBG Mobile, you may be just a viewer at home watching now and you're thinking, oh, I'd love to be a pro player. Like, this seems like a great job. I love playing PUBG Mobile. Well, guess what? This is your time to shine. Put the time in now. You're at the very beginning, the early stages of it all. The growth is fantastic. The support that we're able to get here from the PUBG Mobile side of things is insane. Like, you look at the events we're seeing running, even during COVID times, it's impressive on its own because we've seen other sports, for example, drop off and not be able to run events. I think we're in a very blessed position from start to finish, mate.
It was $5 million last year, and currently this year is going to be 40 million. They almost tripled out the prize pool. Like, if you want a piece of that cake, you know what? I'm not going to complain. I'm not going to judge you, man. You go. If I was good enough to game and get some of that prize pool, I would do so. But I'm a caster instead because I talk better than I play. So, anyways, it's still an opportunity for everyone out there, and hopefully they can rise up to the occasion. But now back to the subject of hand, which is going to be the Sanhok game. Talking about a few teams, 777, hoping them to do really good coming into this. I'm hoping they're going to spawn into the game as a 4-man team. That's my point of focus. Hopefully they can.
Yeah.
Because last game they were there, the 3-man team, so hopefully they'll be there fully. But also, I'm going to be looking out for another one. It's going to be Greedy 4 kills. I was a little bit upset on that first game of today. Unfortunately, they did take a big win on Miramar. It was really dominant, but they did do a few little ickies, a few little mistakes left, right, and center. So hopefully they can try and just fix those on the go, get a little bit better, a little bit more consistent, and maybe snatch away a win again. That'll be great. But at the end, I do not want to see them even take a win. They showed they could do it yesterday on Miramar. I want to see them just being able to get some good kills and good positioning points on a regular basis. If you do that, if you're able to do that, I'm going to be really happy. And for me, they would have proven that they can be a winning team and also a consistent team at that. So I think that that's why I'm looking out mainly for Greedy 4 kills, because they got to win, but we still got to be a little bit critical about these guys. Like, come on. Like, we need to say, you're good, but be careful. Don't get too confident, or otherwise you might be going a little bit too far off track.
And also, this is going to be the test of not only, okay, we know what KHK can deliver. I can easily ignore one game, but if they can bounce back, that's one thing. But it's also to see what Temper are going to be able to do now, because you're so much closer. You had a pretty good, like, it's middle of the pack game going into game 1. Now, if you can deliver in a big way on game 2, then you can solidify yourselves in that top spot, and you can start to strut your stuff a little bit, right? Show all that huge amount of confidence if possible.
But here we go. Anyways, welcome to the jungle. We can have some more action on the go once again on this good old map of Sanhok. Flying path is going to be onto the western side from south to north towards Hatton, so not too much of an issue. A new team, of course, easy drop location as they're going to drop on the eastern side of the northern bridge, so should pretty happy chappy. I would like to see also, keep my eyes pried open a little bit to see who would like to drop in Paradise Resort also. We haven't had any fights in boot camp for the time being also, so hopefully we'll have some action happen over there. Because one of the big parts why I enjoy Sanhok so much as a map, even though a lot of people hate it, which I do completely understand and respect, is because you got a lot of action. And you know what? For us casters, when we got action, that's when we have the most fun. So you know what? We're going to see exactly Influence Rage. I'm seeing them drop currently and going to be contested away by, I believe that is potentially new team. As they're going to be mixed up all in that position. Ooh. So yeah, boot camp is going to be stacked with, I believe, not even 2 teams, 3 teams, I believe.
So wait a second. I'm trying to look at this quickly as it spreads out. We're looking at the map. Where's 7 gone? Where did they go?
7. They actually went over to Camp Alpha onto the western side with Saint.
Oh, okay. So interesting. So they went Camp Alpha. Did that mean no one went Quarry in the end? So they both just agreed that, like, we're going to leave this?
No one in Quarry. They're like, we're giving up on this position. But unfortunately, you get those handshakes through and you're like, okay, we're going to move away. But if you both abandon Quarry and both go to another secondary drop that's the exact same, it's fair to assume that is basically useless. But you know what? Still, the intention alone, I think, is respectful on its own here, Banks. But regardless, we're going to be looking in boot camp a little bit. You got a new team over here. You're going to have also Influence Rage Africa and another squad on the side who's going to be contesting that spot, which I believe is Blackjack Esports. I don't have time to see them too much, but I believe that is it. And it is indeed Blackjack Esports, but it seems like Influence Rage, they saw this position of boot camp is contested by a lot of teams. They're like, you know what? We're going to go up north to the warehouses, loot up there. There's a lot of loot, enough for a full squad. And we're just not going to take the fight head on. And even if the fight roars on through, they can actually potentially third party once the fire's broken out. That's what you see a lot of teams do in high level competitive play on PUBG Mobile, is just leave, wait for the bullets to get exchanged, and re-engage once the 2 teams are heavily hurt and cannot take a fight full force. So intrigued to see how Influence Rage are going to try and adapt to this one, as Zane, it's barbecue time for him. He's going to get roasted to a crisp.
Yeah, he's got to get the bandages to cover up the burn marks and try and survive for the rest of this game. Now, for new, the positions we saw there are really interesting. And this one, especially here, though, but not Roses, because he needs to be careful. He may be looking down, but he needs to be aware that there is a player around close to him, right? It's the Blackjack Esports player, MG, towards the right-hand side of him. And if he takes some shots, if he gives away his position, he could find himself being flanked and taken down. And that's what they would not want. Because look at where they all are. They're all being so cautious. They're not directly like 1-1-1, but they're not playing like 2 together anywhere, which means that a lot of these fights could happen individually based on someone making a mistake.
Talking about mistake, they had one player split away really far. That was not Roses. Yeah, it literally happened. There you go. MG's going to be picking up that first frag for his team off to a good start. 61 players still alive on the lobby. So there you go. Overall, I think that now because they did find that one frag, they know that there's not going to be any sneaky off angles and information being fed over because he was the eyes, not Roses, were the eyes of Sauron on bootcamp for the sort of new team. Without that, they're blind. They have no idea where they're going to get striked from. And now, especially MG, if he's got a perfect off angle, can find that initial shot and turn that fight from 4v3 into a 4v2 or even a 4v1 in the better scenarios and take the fight. But gonna see Greedy 4 kills taking a pretty big L in that fight, apparently.
And you mentioned them, Max. You said you needed G4K to do better in this game. And what was that? At least 2 gone down, maybe 3. They need to be so careful again. These early fights on Sanhok, close contentions, happening very early on, and all in the meantime, Influence, Rage, Africa, they know there's a few teams around them, but they can chill for now. They can just loot themselves up, and I love this position from Hassan. It means he can have a bit of a more long-range flight, have a look around to see what the other teams are doing close by, and make a decision on it. They've got the potential to jump in and try a third party out here, as we hear the first few shots rattled off, and Zayn, he's still looking. He's still trying to see if anyone's going to go out towards his scopes. D4K now in a position where they're trying to battle back on this. It's Monster. 2 of his teammates are down. 1 is already to be revived. This is potential for them to keep 2 alive and fight in this. Shade is crossing the water, so he's going to be some time before he gets into the fight. So these 2 teams, they've had a back and forth battle, but we were right. 2 players did go down for G4K very early on here. And True and Shade, they are actually split. So if this doesn't work out from... Oh, nice. Tries to take the fight towards him. Can't quite connect all the shots, but that was nearly an attempt at getting knocked down once again. Now Shade is going to be shot at by Monster, and G4K potentially have the better positions here because they can play together, but they also are in the position where they can get sideswiped so easily at the same time.
MFP just was able to get that first aid last second before taking any damage. A little bit late on that first aid, and he would have been knocked, and it would have been Monster down to a solo team. And unfortunately, when you're already down to a 2-man team at this stage, the chance of you winning are going to be basically non-existent. So unfortunately, that is going to be hurting their chances to win drastically. And also MFP, I said it, he used the first aid earlier. I'm not sure if he had any because their looting stage has been cut short by this fight. So now Spazza 6, they're just going to keep on raiding down some grenades, potentially finding a great knockdown onto MFP, but they're going to go for the push to try and find those 2 initial players of G4K.
An MFP here. So low on health. True is playing it smart, though. He's not just overextending yet. He wants him to make a mistake. Takes the shot at him. Should be easily able to get him. He's very low on health.
What?
Be careful now, True. You don't want to get headshotted. He finally does get it, but Shade took a hell of a lot of damage at the same time here. They've got to be careful now. Shade and True coming under heavy fire at the same time. We're also seeing the fight that we spoke about at the beginning between New and Blackjack Esports at the top. That started to unfold while we're waiting. Monster still playing the long range game here, but that's not going to work out. True lands the shots at the end, and that's going to be your first team going down. And actually, we've lost 2 teams while this is going on. And Saint, they've picked up 3 kills. We spoke about them needing to come alive. Well, they did across the other side of the map.
Saint, we're looking at that from the top of the mountain, like, your kill?
Yeah, they were like,
kill.
Mine?
My kill. mine, please. Like a Nemo. Overall, I got to say, True, though, he was 1 HP, 2 HP, and able to still clap back, so that was good. Still an extra point coming their way. And I mentioned it yesterday, it could still come down to a 1-point difference as to if you qualify or not. So any point you can take is going to make matters easier for you in the long run, really. And now Saint going to go on that snowman, pick up all the juicy loot for themselves and put himself in the good spot. But talking of putting yourself in a good spot, KHK, Reverb, Sully slowly sneaking away on top of this mountain position. The fight still roaring inside of bootcamp itself. But maybe can find a few lucky shots from a distance. But here, it seems like they're focusing on bootcamp. They fully understand this position is going to be contested. There are always going to be teams at bootcamp. It's not worth it. We've got a compound right nearby. It's next to the road on a little lip of the hill. It's nice and relaxing. Go there, take a little summer vacation, and relax there until phase 2 will pop. Nothing else to lose otherwise. But also, and talking about positions are really good to play. We talked about bootcamp being interesting, but going to get contested, so it is pretty risky. I love this position. I especially remember Frogs from Pubg PC. This guy mentioned many times that one of his favorite positions on Sanhok is actually the trifecta section here of the Riverside. Reason why? it basically gives you access to any island, northwest, southeast, or northwest, southwest, or the eastern mainland islands. So it gives you access to basically anything. And because this first phase circle actually englobed all of those islands, drop in there, you make up for any kind of hard shift. If it goes up northwest, you're already there. Southeast, you can also easily rotate. The fact is, this position alone for next opens so many opportunities that if they execute on that position correctly, you can't not have a bad circle. It will always be a good circle in your favor.
And that's what you want to take full advantage of wherever possible. It's a nice, interesting start here, though. And a smart play from Saint to allow the other two squads to fight it out. Come from the other side of the map and work their way into the fight. 777 have now kind of got themselves in a position where they can just sit and chill on Camp Alpha. They'll still be within the circle. But actually, while you're still in a good position here, you can just come over. I wouldn't suggest maybe swimming over. I'd go, if I was them, I'd take the southern route, just go across the bridge. Obviously, they don't know it's not contested here, but this is more an easy access to a greater part of the map, right, than trying to go up north and come all the way back down and come round in. Especially when they would have seen how many teams have dropped close enough towards them. But Saint's position is going to be huge for the meantime, and they already picked up 3 kills. So maybe this is where we do see the best of Saint. We said we saw the fight they were willing to take, the confidence they had on Erangel, map 1 here, and especially where they had so many chances to try and do well yesterday, but it didn't come in for them. Maybe now is their time to shine.
I truly think so. Especially that first game, just the shift in mentality they had so far, I think was really impressive. So now is just stick to your guns, keep it up, have the right mindset. And I think they have shown that in their first game today. It's like completely different Saint team than what we saw yesterday. So they're actually playing together, which I'm enjoying a lot. One team that I would hope to see a lot different from is going to be here, Nexus Esports. They're currently in 29th position. They only got himself 8 points in 4 games. That's an average of 2 points per game. I think it goes without saying that that is a really bad average. So they really got to put the extra effort in today if they want to just barely even make it back in top 16. But at least they got to kick off that comeback into gear. And if they can do so, I think that we could potentially see them make it further away. But we haven't seen much of this team. They really have to try and prove themselves, at least in my eyes. Zeus just raining it down. We're talking about Quarry earlier. You said potentially a few teams will try and take the fight, but Zeus raining down a hail of bullets. But no knocks are going to be found just yet for the side of Iron Man.
I absolutely love this setup from Zeus, though, right? 3 players posted on top of the hill, 1 player slightly further ahead of them, slightly further forward, and they're just spraying on down. They do not want to allow any other players to escape. And you see Matrix, he's having to get himself pilled up. He's trying to get himself ready because he needs to be able to escape this scenario for now. As Zeus, they really do have him completely pinned down. He's looking around, but he needs to be careful, and that's what he's doing, right? He's checking behind him, just in case anyone does spot him hiding down here. And that's exactly what's starting to happen from both sides. Now he's getting taken out. It's AOK that come in, and the flank, it starts to happen, and it's an instant kill. Matrix could not escape. No matter where he looked, no matter where he turned, there were bullets raining down on him.
Oh, they're just falling just under the pressure. They are getting squashed by the side of these two teams. Zeus looking really good with their own pressure, respectively. But still UAE, Maniac in the shack, looking, waiting for one of the players to stop touching their phone and take the shot. He's got it perfectly in the reticle. Goes for a little few one-taps, but just gets some damage down to 1/3 HP. Maestro will be able to make it back behind the rock, and the res will come on through. But you know what? Still good attempt, some good shots from a distance. I could definitely not do that, as I can barely suss what is happening in close range or long range. I really need to get some glasses soon. But you know what? Still, got to say, these players, they're still young. They can 100% see what's happening on their screen, so good shot regardless.
The Maniac's just going to keep a good eye on what's going down. All of UAE is sat there now. They want to get a little bit of revenge where possible. And they just want to see any movement and take some shots at it. This is the thing for AOK. They have to move on down eventually. They'll have to come on their way in. Then also on the other side of it, UAE, they're pushed up against the circle themselves. So it is going to be a decision that, at least for UAE, they're going to have to now make on, okay, where do we go from here? And, well, the circle doesn't go in their favor, so now they're going to have to play into AOK's hands. The upper hand has now gone over towards them. And this is the beauty of the circle shifts. Sometimes it can work out perfectly for you. Sometimes it's a big risk, and now you are pinned down. The escape is going to be difficult.
So I don't usually say many times that position sucks, but Zeus, Dragons, and also UAE, they are in a sucky position. Like, this is really hard for them. Moving away from Quarry on a Sanhok game, you're going to ask any pro player and they do not want to. And you can't even see it. They're just like, okay, we're going to crawl very carefully, make as little movement as possible to avoid getting detected by Dragons that's right behind them, by the way. And lucky enough for them, they're not going to get backstabbed just yet. And I think that, wait, did Pubg not see them? They're right there. Hello?
Is he maybe
Pubg?
waiting for a grenade?
Fine, they.
Oh, he doesn't have any grenades. That makes sense now. I was wondering what he was trying to do as they're just crawling around. He needs to be careful, though, because he's making a lot of noise. More players can come out, potentially try and take the fight here. The smoke's going to go down. And bot Jeff. Well, yep, he's being careful. I love this. He's having a good look above him. He knows that he made a lot of noise and other players might want to try and jump on top of him. And that's what Iron Man wants to try and do. They're trying to fire back against him. And Iron Man takes down Jeff. He saves the day. But has he done all that's needed? Because his teammates are still hanging back out there. More nade kills going up as well. You love to see it.
So I'm going to be very critical on this. Bot Jeff, why were you pushing forward melee with an M16? I don't know what his secondary weapon was. If you had an M4 or a SCAR or anything else, I think it would have been better than an M16. It doesn't do great at close range, but you know what? He's still got a knock, so I'm not going to complain too heavily. But here you're going to have Nexus getting pushed upon by Saint once again. This team is looking confident here, Banks.
They are, and they're going for these aggressive fights straight in for the finish-offs as well. One player to find, Seth hiding in the corner. He tries his best, but it's not going to work out. Saint don't lose a single player, just 2 knocks, and they clean up another compound. Yes, 7 kills already.
If only it was 777 that had that many, that would be typically on brand, but unfortunately not going to be happening for them just yet. They're still going to move on forward. 777 have yet to, at least when the circle popped, when we saw it earlier, they have yet to move away from the northwestern island. They were still towards Camp Alpha, which was their initial drop location. So, and I said it, if you do tend to rotate a little bit late, gatekeeping is going to be, in fact, just around the corner. So 777 got to be very cautious of their next task at hand, their next move. And if they do a wrong move, unfortunately, it might cause their demise and initiate their inevitable doom, I would say, almost in this game, as they might get eliminated in the bottom 12. So still, they moved away from Quarry. You know what? That's a lot better than what I was initially expected. They're out of Quarry itself, but they still got a length to go. They're still going to get sprayed down by Undisputed African Esports. They're looking for a few sneaky shots, a few sneaky knockdowns left, right, and center. But nothing has yet to connect for them just yet. And also, they're on the edge of circle on the eastern side. And Hairbanks, like, we know that the odds of the circle going in their favor are very slim. We're going to see exactly now. And it does, in fact, move away from them. And you got 1, 2, 3, 4. You got 4 compounds and also a shack that are not taken over just yet. Whichever team know for a fact, especially Revolution up on the south, if they see that trifecta compound of the road is available, you got to aim for that. Those are some of the best compounds available in PUBG Mobile on the map on Sanhok. And Revolution up, they have no excuse. If they've been scouting that position the entire game, they should snatch it away. But before doing that, you got to eliminate Dragons. They are right behind them. If they move now, they're going to get backstabbed. So you need to take that fight head on first.
And you know what I'm really impressed with is that UAE is still able to stand. Like, they didn't get taken down by AOK at that point. We saw them having the little face-off as they were trying to work the advantage, especially as they didn't have the high ground. But this is an interesting one. Saint pushing on up. Plenty of shots coming out towards them. Hansy's in a great spot. More grenades coming out as well. More players being knocked down. They are in for a rough ride here. They've tried to push up the hill, but the high ground advantage is strong, and Hansley, he's just running on forward. The nades went out, the smokes are down, and they are going to apply all the pressure to Saint. They are heavily outnumbered here as well. Moon, sneaky snake, they might be able to do something here. Moon, he jumps on one, he pounces, but he's not going to be able to kill them all off. Eventually, they will start to fall, and that is Saint eliminated. It was so difficult for him.
Those are one of the hardest pushes to do. Going uphill against a team that has the high ground advantage, that also has one building initially, that little sniper position they could easily shoot from and get some nades and smokes if they're really required to do so. So they were in a really strong spot. Saint trying to push up, but unfortunately doing that kind of push without information is always hard. And they were also again pushed by the clock. The circle moved away. They had no option. So they're like, we're just going to go uphill. I would have per se went for the compound southwest of the circle. But they decided to go for the mountaintop, and you know what? I can respect that all around. But now, Revolution up, I said it, they need to try and take that fight with Dragons, but they have not been doing so. And now, 777, as they go in the exact same position where Saints died, by the way, they're going to give it a shot themselves. But they allowed, unfortunately for them, Influence Rage to take the entire reses. They're back as a 3-man squad. This is going to be now turned into a 3v3.
I hate fighting when you are on the low ground. It is so difficult. The molly burns the rocks in front of him. Hansley again, he wants to be the point man. He's the one to lead the charge and try and get some of these opening kills on there. But it's Temper. They've got involved in the fight as well. But guess who finishes it off? Hansley steals away the kill. This is nice work from them. And Duffy, he's sat back. He's got Typical bleeding out alongside him. And he's thinking, okay, I'm in the blue. I'm tanking some damage. I can't move. There's teams shooting at me from either side. This is less than ideal. And Imp, they can just back away quite confidently for now and just take a few more shots. And it's KHK, the next team that's going to meet their fate at the hands of Imp. This position is so strong.
It is strong, but unfortunately not good for the long term as it is moving away. And Duffy, he's left alone, and he's actually getting third party from a distance by Gazzy's squad. So Duffy, I think that your time is slowly coming to an end, my friend, and you might get eliminated with this team out in 12th position. And I said it, if you rotate late, you're going to get gate kept, and that's exactly what's happening, not only for them, but also for Saint. You know, Saint was trying to be a little bit more proactive, but the lack of scouting made matters a little bit hard, and Duffy goes out, and that's going to be, actually not 12th, that's going to be, I believe, the 12th position for them, and KHK got out actually in 11th position. KHK, another big surprise. They went out when they were just given potentially so many promises yesterday with the two first games, and today they're just falling off the surface of the earth, which is super unfortunate to see.
Oh, it really is. Somehow, though, you got to look at this. Zane, we saw these guys fight very early on. Okay, they've only got 5 kills, but they've done a good job at least staying alive, repositioning themselves right now. They're trying to work their way in from this northwestern side. And Imp, they're still holding off more players. Gazzy squad down there in the back lines. They're being shot at. They are struggling to move around. They've got players bleeding out around them. Ooh, that's a nice shot landed, though. More of a fight going to be taken this time around. Back and forth. This is where all the action's going to be popping off for now. The smokes are going to be deployed to try and give them some cover. Husson wants to try and avoid as much blue damage as possible as they try to work their way in. The same here for MG. As the fight comes in, it's Temper. They've got a great spot to fight from here, but they will also have to move soon enough. They're just trying to deal with all the teams as they try to work their way in. They're struggling to find an advantage around this because this position from Temper, they can just kill off everyone up in the northern side and then make their way out as soon as they feel comfortable.
This is really hard for Influence Rage Africa, though. They've got to make it down, but though they still got Hansley and also Houston. I said it. These are the deadly brothers of the lobby. Hansley is going to be to Houston what Luigi is to Mario. They're going to be the bros ready to go until the very end of this adventure. But there's only one shack available currently in this circle, and it's for Maniac of EOE, Undisputed African Esports. Holding on strong, he's solo, not going to be taking it. No neighbors. No. They make way too much sound in the morning. But with that, they're going to try and make their way forward. As on the eastern side is going to be contested. Temper takes the shot and able to find himself a great knockdown onto new team.
Oh, Temper swarming relaxed. He can hear what's going on. He's trying to snake into success, but it's not going to work out. Flacco finds it with ease as they continue to make their push on forward. Manfilius, he's coming in, tapping away at anyone that pokes on out. He's able to do some extra damage towards them, and they're okay position. It's not too bad at all here. They're pushing up. They've got all their players up, a bit of damage done towards them. And the cover they have here to fight Temper can be something they can use to their advantage. Nades going out as well. Molly pushed forward at the same time. The blue is starting to force him into Temper's hand and skull. He's just desperately trying to stay in it. He's still taking damage though. He can't afford to poke out. And Temper, they have him locked down. This is not what they want to see here. The flames burning him alive. They start to get knocked. Shady pulling it off, forcing him out of position. Look at all the chaos hanging around them as Temper have such a nice hold here. They're not being forced by the blue. They've stayed just in enough position here to keep A-OK right on the back foot. And Manfilas, he's looking for someone to poke out and to give him an edge, to give him something they can play off of here. Because they pulled off the revive. They've got their team members back up. But it's healing them back up while all the damage is happening. That's going to be the difficult point here. The energy drink's about to be popped. And does this mean that Temper want to try and force them out here? Do they want to take this fight here and now? Sahil's able to actually take some damage onto him. So UAE have jumped into the fight. This is not what they want to see. Sahil fighting for his life, but he's just going to be burning out in the blue. And Temper, they're just keeping their eyes on everything.
Maniac is chilling. He might be able to just third party on this.
Oh, that would be huge. If he can get away with that, there'd be literal murder to all of them around him. Leader trying to work his way in. He's a little bit too slow. He's still taking damage. He's still taking fights, though. He jumps out in the nick of time. He comes in with a spray down, but it's not going to work out. He gets an input to him, and now Maniac wants to get involved. He jumps out in the nick of time, and he might be able to do some serious damage, but he can't. Oh, the timing didn't work out for him. And it's Temper that walk away with it at the end. They dealt with aggression from all sides. And UAE, AOK, they let that fall away at the last moment. But Maniac, the little camping in the hut for as long as possible, it nearly worked out for him.
That was almost the biggest steal we've ever seen from Undisputed. Hey, you know what? They took a chicken dinner initially on the first game, right? And now into Sanhok, the trial by fire, you might say, in PUBG Mobile Esports, they take a second position. But sure, it was a snatched away and just having one player, and it was Maniac just snatching away that compound and sticking around in it. But overall, really good trend from UAE, but God sent Temper. Well, not anymore. Temper now. You got to call them like that now. Really good trend. Flacco, 6 frags coming up their way, and they were coming in hot from the northern side, shifting, taking fight after fight after fight. And I thought initially that they were going to lose that fight with the side of Art of Killing, because they were going to be the furthest team, the one to initially be into that blue zone, and yet they were able to push forward so aggressively. Really good uses of smokes, mollies, and grenades, by the way. Their utility usage was absolutely on point, and because of that, Art of Killing could not really do too much, as they still go out with 6 kills for themselves. So good trend from Art of Killing. The silent killers, not very silent this game though, as they were already taking those fights head on since the very early stages towards Quarry. But overall, that was a really strong game, I got to say. A few teams still a little bit slow on their rotations. I'm mainly thinking of Saint a little bit slow, moving away from the trifecta compound of the river, and also the side of 777 that did get gate-kept by Gazi Squad and also Influence Rage Africa. If they can step that up a little bit, that would be great to see. But now here we go, making it over to the rankings page. Art of Killing Esports, snatching away that second spot, 75 points. And you know what? They're knocking on the door of God Sent. Well, now just Temper. We need to do the renames of Temper. They're currently in number 1 position with 86. You know what? Art of Killing Esports is just about time for them to take that number 1 position.
But look at this for KHK. A couple of games where it didn't work out in the way they would like. Okay, they're down in 4th place, right? They're still with a huge amount of points. But just after such a dominant play style that we saw in day 1, now we start to see when the two groups clash together, who can really be the titans of this. And Temper, they're coming in looking hot for sure, but this race is nowhere near over. There is still so much to play for from all of them. Slime 4KT, they've dropped down a fair amount. Obviously, they're not playing today, so it's not the end of the world for these guys. But Drogans, they're working their way up slowly but surely, and they're keeping a good balance here. I like this. 24 placement points, 19 kill points. It's a good way to get this done, right? Slowly but surely, you can keep grinding your way forward.
Slow and steady wins the race, but I'm looking at this. So many teams in like top 8 position other than Art of Killing Esports have 1 win. No team has yet to get 2 wins. And I'm really hoping to see that happen. It was almost about to happen with Maniac. I want to see which will be the first team to take a double winner chicken dinner into the African region for the PMCO. That'll be a great standings for them. But now we're slowly going to be making our way over to the second side of the rankings from the bottom 16 teams. And some teams still struggling. And really, Revolution Up, I said they had one of the easiest, and I really do have to nail this down, easiest rotation potentials. They were on the mountain, which I usually call Kanina Mountain for another team in CIS that loves playing in that position all the time, but they had the good information going their way. They had Dragons right behind them. They had to try and take that fight head on, but they did not decide to do so. They did struggle making it down into the compound down below, but I think that is another great example of Revolution Up here being a little bit too slow on that rotation. If they were a little bit more snappy, rotated first, they would have been in that compound first. And from that position, they could have taken away the compound away from UAE that was held down by Maniac and actually potentially be the team to win, because Maniac was there solo. Imagine how that game could have ended if in that compound you didn't have no 1 player, but 4 players instead, and being all 4 players of Revolution Up. I think they could have had a win. I think they had the easiest access to a win with the likes of Art of Killing Esports in that game. But unfortunately, I did think they blew it a little bit, and they could have had a way better opportunity and position. But unfortunately, I don't think they saw that opportunity available in front of them.
And sadly, when you're looking at 777 Esports here, 31st place, but even now, you're 2 games into day 3, the second day that you're actually playing in this, and you're only at 3 points now. And they had a good chance on Sanhok. They were taking some fights, but early on, it didn't work out for them. And this is where it starts to get very scary for the future and what you can try and do here. They're really going to have to step it up. Any of these teams now that are struggling to be towards double digits, towards 20 points, you're just so far behind from the front runners that it's a long road ahead of you. And you really even need to look at switching things up or just be like Saint now, right? Because Saint, they've flipped it on their head. The confidence levels they've brought, they're taking fights, they're taking action, they're taking space constantly wherever they go. When you're knowing now the fights that Saint go into, it looks like a completely different team to what we saw yesterday. And that by far is probably my most impressive thing of today.
It's cool. They're taking it one thing at a time. Initially, they're like, okay, this team, they're taking it one by one. They're struggling a little bit, and their positions too were not great. Over the course of literally 48 hours, 2 days, they improved their drop spot locations. They really heavily improved on that. They're always trying to like, okay, we're not going to take early game fights. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Their team fighting capabilities alone have improved drastically since their first day. And now coming into this, another thing that I think they've got to work on too is rotation and rotation pathing. Know when and how to rotate and what way to rotate. And if you work on that, I think that currently Saint, and already, even without that, even without taking that into account, I think they are the team that, Wiz New Team, have been the two teams that improve the most over the course of this event. And when you're able to prove so much over 48 hours, imagine how good this team can be when you're going in, like, 1 week, a month, an entire season, an entire year of PUBG Mobile esports. These are teams that, when they have a mentality like that, to always question themselves and try and improve over time, these are the teams that can make it really far. Sure, you might be a team that's godly good, just like KHK Esports or Temper, but the true teams that we got to think about are the teams that improve and learn every single day and take every day as a learning opportunity. And if you do so, I believe that you can truly make it into the big teams out there in the competitive scene.
Every day is certainly a learning opportunity. Also for us, when we're watching all these games go down. And also for you, if you need to know what smartphone you need in your hand, the coming Oppo Reno 5 series is the official designated smartphone of the PUBG Mobile Middle East and African esports for 2021, equipped with excellent hardware and software. For gaming, this device will always lift you to the upgraded fun and enjoyment in the battlefield. And that's what we've seen. We had a fun game of nades the first time around, and this game we just had here was one where Maniac tried to be a true Maniac and steal away the game in the very last minute.
It was so close. Like I was thinking, oh, wait a second. I just had to cut in. You were like, play by play. And I was like, wait, don't forget about Maniac. He's over there, by the way. We should not forget. And he tried to get in. I think that if he had one smoke and was able to peek through the smoke, like on the side, a little bit lean, I think it could have made matters a little bit easier for him. But I don't know if he used already too many smokes just to get into that shack, into that compound. And you know what? At the end, it's still a second position. He snatched it away from Art of Killing. You can't say that's a bad thing. That's still an extra 12 points positioning wise, plus an extra, I believe it was 3 kills. So they get 15 points total from that game that I did not think they were going to win initially. So that's basically 2 really strong games, a chicken dinner and a second position. A lot of frags, especially on that first game. I think it was 14 kills, if I'm not mistaken. So they are really, really stepping up to the occasion. As currently, I'm checking on my screen, they are so far in. We saw it earlier. I need to re-find it real quick. But Undisputed African Esports top 5. There you go. They made it 5th position currently with 66 points, and they are just 20 points away from Tempo number 1. That is one really strong game with a chicken dinner and a good amount of kills. They can make it back up there in literally just one game alone. But it's safe to assume, I think, that when I say that UAE, they're qualified for the finals, they've done it, but still take it as an opportunity to learn about these teams and improve, especially over time. Because I think that they are a team that are going to make it to the finals. But when you tell me they can potentially make it, into the PMPL, that's why I start to be, they are good, but I don't know that good just yet. So hopefully they can keep on improving.
Yeah, and we have to see more because it's the development process of teams, right? Because you're getting more official games under your belt. Because another thing people have to realize is scrims is one thing where you can test things out. You don't have the pressure on you. When you're playing official matches like this, there's an extra level of pressure added. It's on stream. You could be seen when you're messing up a couple of nades or not hitting the shots you want to hit. There's all this that comes to being on the line that can change the way you normally play. And this is where I always look at people when they play scrims, they should always be playing in a similar environment to how it would be on a pro game. So don't make any silly mistakes. Don't try and play more aggressive just because you know it doesn't matter. Keep the same mindset. And that's a lot harder to do in real life and actually make happen than it is to make possible when you're trying to build it up, right? Because sometimes you just lose focus and it's hard to be focused the whole time through. But focus has to be had from start to finish. And that's what these teams are going to be doing because we're going to go into a break and they're going to be focusing on the third map. It's Miramar coming right up. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're going into game 3 of day 3, and already it has been action-packed from start to finish. Myself, James Banks, and Mr. Max Man here alongside me to bring you all the action from start to finish for the African region here at the PMCO 2021. And it's only the opening few days and it's already been exciting, but I'm more excited than ever because the third map is always my favorite. We go to Miramar. We get to enjoy the madness that is Miramar. And I know, Max, you're unhappy because Vikendi's not there, but maybe I'll grab you into the love of Miramar across these next few days.
Hey, you know what? When it comes down to it, Miramar is the map that's the closest to Vikendi. Not in temperature, that's complete opposite, but in terms of how you rotate and how you play the map, it is a little bit similar. You know, you got those big compound positions, and if you are outside of a compound, it's safe to assume that you're a little bit in a world of trouble, so you want to be very careful about it. But Miramar is still one of the maps that I enjoy pretty heavily. I do like it quite a bit. We have some pretty good rotations, and you were talking about this, Banks, during the break we just had here for a few minutes, how you like to see, especially in Miramar, these teams going for the long routes. You mentioned 777, you thought that on Sanhok they had a really good rotation, but coming into this, I want to see which teams will try and get some smart rotations. I got many teams to think of, but I'd love to know, like, which teams would you like to see potentially come into this one as some top rotational teams?
I think that now with KHK going down the way they did, right, they now need to maybe play a bit safer on that. So remember last time they started up in the north, right? So they now, if they want to rotate and say the circle just goes down super fast to the south, we know they are very used to playing that. You look at their Erangel games coming from Zaverny, they've always had to travel on down, but they don't do the fast pace, just go straight in a straight line. They're taking this more like they'll go west or they'll go east. They'll do a longer rotation, especially in the early phases where it's more feasible, right? You can take some damage and it's not the end of the world, and just play a bit smarter early on and then go into the fights. Because I think what they're realizing here in day 3 is this group right now, they can't get away with the super aggro, just charge in and take every fight, because yesterday was completely different. It was a huge contrast to what we saw today. Yesterday, they were just straight lining it, going and fighting every team on their way, and they had no problems at all. This time, they're being matched a little bit, and this is where they have to be careful because, okay, they've only dropped a few points, and yes, they're very comfortable on points right now, but for any top team, they want that #1 spot, right? They want to sit there and say, no, it doesn't matter. We're going to show our A game. And I know some people, they talk about this and they're like, oh, well, as long as they make it out in the top 16, it doesn't really matter. Well, it does matter in a big way, because what they want to do here is they want to have this fear from the other teams in them, right? You want to be able to scare them that little bit. But some people say, oh, don't give away too much, right? Don't give away too much of what you do. You can always adapt. You can always change as a team as you come into the next stages. You don't have to show your full hand just now. But I think KHK, they need to, at least on these last 2 maps, come in with a slightly bit more of a dominating performance to say, no, look, guys, we can still hang. This lobby's not the one that's going to beat us.
I fully agree with that. Overall, I fully agree. And I think that we've been talking about KHK. We want to see them improve. We've seen many teams improve. We're talking about Saint, new team. Other teams also have been really rising up to the occasion. But I want to mention, I've casted in PUBG Mobile. This is not flex, by the way, just saying in general. I casted many other regions in PUBG Mobile. And I got to say, teams especially in Europe, CIS, they're very stubborn. They truly are. And they just like, we got to play style, we got a drop location, we're committing to it, especially Korea. We had that one team in Korea I mentioned, they had a drop location. They never shifted throughout the entire event and they lost because of it. But I got to say, from what I've seen here, and it's only been 3 days, which is in the grand scheme of things, very little. It's just a drop of water in an ocean of games that's been happening so far. And I'm looking at this. I think that the African region, their specialty grenades, we said it earlier, they're really good, but also their capacity to improve over time, from not even just teams alone, but the entire region as a whole, is mental to me. And I think that this has to be the region that, at the PMCO level at least, has been able to improve the most over a short period of time. So for that alone, the entire African region, from every single team, I've got to give a huge amount of respect and chunk of respect to them, because they've been, from the first day, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to lie, I was a little bit judgmental. I was like, you know what, this region, they got some good teams. You got the KHKs, you got also the Tempers up there that are really stepping up and rising up to the occasion. But other teams, they're down. I'm not expecting them to potentially improve and do that great, but they slapped me in the face and they made me eat my words. And I could not be any happier as a caster to eat my own words, and they proved me wrong. And I'm like, damn, these teams really have it in them. And I said it, I want to see them make it into the international big top tier, S tier events, because now that I see how good they improve, in a year's time, or maybe throughout the entire year of 2021, these are teams that could rivalize against the top dog teams in the Eastern countries, also against Chinese teams like the side of For Angry Men or also Nova Esports. So really, if it keeps going like this and they keep impressing me day by day, man, they could also potentially take a big title, like a PMWL title I'm talking about. That would be huge.
It really would be huge. And one thing that you're perfectly right on touching on there is that the development of the teams, right, is one thing and how they go further forward. But I actually look at it as, okay, some teams right now are sat in a position where it may not look so good for them. But we've seen it. Teams can change up. Teams can improve across the long game here. And that's the beauty of the format we have and the amount of days we have. And even some of these teams that are further behind now, it's making the most of every game because, again, I'm going to keep coming back to it. Official games and this level of games is so hard to come by. You can scrim against these teams from your region all you like, but it's never the same when you get into the official mentality of it all. And especially when you get to the big tournaments, like you're mentioning, you qualify for the next step, and then you go on to the big international events. You're going up against teams you've never played from different regions. Like, this is where you have to make sure that no matter what game you're playing, no matter which teams you're up against, you have a good approach and a good style and a good mentality. And this is why I think people don't kind of, I think people underestimate, the ability of a shot caller. A shot caller, an in-game leader, whatever you want to call them, when it comes to a game like PUBG Mobile, there is so much on that one person's shoulders. And that's where we spoke about it before. Having analysts and team managers to help out with doing the other details in it is so incredibly important.
Storm, I'm only thinking about him for Slime 4KT. He was doing great in that Miramar game, and I want to see more of him. He's not playing today. A little bit unfortunate. We're going to see him play tomorrow, so definitely want to be hyped for that matchup. So hopefully you're going to have those ideas really taking their role properly for themselves. But with that said, you know what? Enough chit-chat and enough of our faces on the desk. We're going to get in the nitty-gritty of it all as we make our way into Miramar for our third game of day 3 of the African PMCO Spring Split 2021. Playing path, not too mad. It's going to be from Los Niños in the south all up to the northern side. I believe is going to be towards make his way through San Martin over Picado. Also should be pretty damn close. And yeah, it's going to make it to La Cobriera. I mean, we saw also yesterday teams like Saint, they dropped Campo Militar. If they want to do that again, that is going to be really far out of this playing path because it is an 8x8 map. So here you can still drop onto the east of La Cobriera, pick up a car, make it through Torre Ahumada, and make into Campo Militar. But Saint, this is a great situation where you want to have a secondary drop location. And as I mentioned that, they're dropping at the same time as 777, straight up top of Chumacera, in direction, I believe, Ladriera. And that's great. I said it. I want to see a secondary drop because they know Campo Militar is not a viable option, and they have one available. This is great from Saint once again.
Now, there's 2 points I'm looking at here on the drops. Influence Rage Africa, they go Picado. Blackjack Esports also like to go Picado. Who's going to shake hands? Who's going to go for it? Do we get a fight off on it? KHK, they went for El Azahar last time. Are they going to try and pull this one off again? Remember I said about them going up towards the north. It was interesting because, like you mentioned, Saint went for Campo Militar at the top, and then they went further down south, and well, they ran into KHK. It's not normally a team you want to run into, but we've seen it. Saint are looking so much more comfortable. And the circle pops, we're going far over towards the western side, a little bit more towards the north as well. So a pretty good circle to start things off with here. And not too many teams are going to be that far away. So they're going to be in a good positions. The rotations from the teams that do end up more towards the south is going to be slightly harder on this one, especially just where it's all going to kind of build up around. But for the teams that do want to go up from the northeastern side of things, it's not going to be that bad. Plenty of options to fight their way in. I expect kind of to see a battle around water treatment when we come into these later circles, maybe around phase 2.
Now, water treatment can maybe have a little bit of action coming up their way. Cinder de Patron also potentially going to have 2 teams over there. Got a new team currently over there with another squad. I have a little bit of heart. I think that's KHK Esport actually going to be in that position. So maybe a little bit of fight happening towards Hacienda or San Martin, while Temper going to be solo in San Martin itself, onto the west at least of San Martin. But El Pozo got himself also a Gazi squad. They're going to be over there, contested away. So some potentially early game skirmishes could be happening, especially in La Cobriera. So far, I'm seeing 4 points of contestment early on. Cobriera, El Pozo, San Martin, and also the south of Los Lunes with Dragons and also Zeus Esports. So that's going to be potentially 4 fights, 4 clashes happening early on, which I was not really expecting that to happen, especially in a map as big as Miramar. But because the playing path was pretty hard over to the west, it is going to be concentrating these teams a little bit more as we do make our way into the compound of La Cobriera. Going to be greedy 4 kills, going to be in this position. They took themselves the great win yesterday on game 3 on Miramar also. So far, they are the kings of the desert, but they're not going up against any team. No. This is going to be Influence Rage Africa that has been really, really stepping up today. They've got some really good performances in. But here's then sees the intel to Beast for a split second. Will be switch. Always got the Winchester, looking potentially for sneaky headshot to Beast. But that kind of weapon at this range, not going to be the most effective.
Yeah, not going to be the easiest shot to hit. Certainly not, but these are some very capable players. And Hussein, he does need to be slightly more careful because, look, he's taking some damage very early on here from Beast. His teammates are just coming up in the nick of time, but INF, they do need to be cautious because G4K, they'll be ready and willing to fight. We know this, right? They love to get greedy for kills. They don't just live by that name, they play that game as well. Beast, again, he went down very early on, just earlier on Sanhok on the second map. Going into this, he's already willing to take a fight coming into this one. And INF, they've grouped up. They've got a bit more of a stack to play together in it. Hussein's still taking a bit of damage to himself. I'm not sure if he will have all the bandages and the capabilities he needs to be able to fire back in time. But we got to look at what INF will be able to do in holding off against this, because G4K, they're ready to apply this pressure.
G4K, they're ready to go anytime if possible. We also got to see G4K, they got a position up north, held on by one of their players. Got to be a little bit careful. There's going to be that off angle that could create some great opportunities, and I see it. Hates, he spotted MFP for a split second, and he's got also mini 14. I don't know what scope he's got, but if he's got good old time 2 or also at time 3 or time 4 scope, that could be great at that kind of range to close off that gap and get some good angles. But Romeo, he's really far away from that fight, nowhere to be seen currently. So before they initiate their fight, they really need Romeo to join up on the rest of the team, because otherwise that means that they would be taking a 3v4. And I think that goes without saying, even though I'm pretty bad at math, that 4 is indeed bigger than 3. That is a fact. Yes.
Definitely. I completely agree. Your maths isn't that bad.
Thank you.
We can make sure that that is correct. No need for to be worrying about that one. But you might be worried if you're a fan of INF, because right now, INF, they're not pushing on it just yet. But if the 2 players further back there are going to get into a fight early on, it's going to be a bit harder for Skydo just for him to be able to work his way up the hill. So it's all going to come down to timing on this. And G4K, they're playing super defensively here. Skydo, I would like to see at least work his way in to be closer to the guys for now. Because look at Monster. He's got good eyes through the window. And I don't think he's been checked here. I see where Hates is, but I don't believe he's looking out towards him. He's looking out towards Beast and Co. So it is something they need to be careful of. And there you go. Look, Monster, all this information he has, he's getting ready to take the shot. He's feeling about it. He's thinking about it. They start to fall back. He spots out some more players as well. They're very out in the open here, and it's all going to come down to timing. Who's going to show themselves enough for Monster to be able to take this kill and want to take this kill? But Hades, he's still sat further back than the rest of INF, and now he's kind of been left alone. If he finds himself isolated and gets taken down, then that's going to be a big loss for INF early on. But Monster, is this your time to strike? He takes a few shots at the car. Hansley's looking to try and move around. He tries to duck behind the building to get some more cover for himself, and he will at least be able to hide for now. But Monster, he's shown his face. They know where he is, and now he has to be the one that is very cautious of other players spanning around him.
INF, it really goes to show that here they do not want to take that fight. But Hades, they kept him on the back line, and unfortunately he's going to get surrounded. But you know what? He gets the surprise fact onto MFP. And now, the res will come on through. They get the smoke. Good skin from Hades. But man, he's got some sick shots, especially with the Im side, by the way. Those are not that easy to hit. But now, because they got that initial knockdown, INF, they're feeling confident here, Banks. They want to take down this entire team.
And look at Monster. He now needs to move, and he needs to move fast. He knows he needs to back up the rest of his team. INF, they've come in with a fight, and they've come in with the kills. They're instantly eliminating him. 2 quick kills, and they've done it in style. Skydo, he's saying, I'm going to put the hurt on you, and I'm going to make it embarrassing as well. Romeo posted up high. He wasn't able to get into this fight here, and he also now needs to be careful because the last 2 members of G4K, they're completely separated from each other. INF, they have now managed to separate the pack and take full advantage of this.
Skydo, that was great. He just rushed that one in the open, by the way, with a DBS. He's just like, hey, you know what? A shotgun is going to make it's going to do what it's supposed to do. It's going to put some bullets and holes in my enemies. But Romeo, he was looking way too long for Juliet, and unfortunately for him, he's going to have to move away. That fight was very little to account for. Still taking some pretty big shots with the UMP45 of Hussein, but Hussein will not find anything of value. And yeah, greedy 4K, like greedy 4 kills. I think that here, this is a throw on their end. They had a good position. They had Monster also being the eyes of Sauron in this compound for the team, and they were giving the intel over. The moment they knew that they were all rotating away, the entire team should have been pushing forward. But the reason why they couldn't is because, once again, Romeo was not there. He was nowhere to be seen. And the moment that INF picked up that initial knockdown, they're like, oh, and they are a team that is very confident. We saw this many times, that if they have a possibility to take a fight, they will. Here, they got the opening knock. They're like, okay, this is 4v3. We're going to take that fight. And we don't even know where Romeo is. So that means it's even technically a 4v2. So really, I think that here, Greedy 4 kills, they could have played that position a lot better by just remaining as a 4-man team and taking the odds in their favor. But unfortunately, they didn't do so. So that's going to be a big fat L. But so far, we've only seen what was happening in the compound of La Cobriera. Just like an Attack of Titan, we only know what's happening inside the walls, but what's happening around the rest of the map. That is what we're intrigued to see as a 777. Again, they spawn in as a 3-man team. Very unfortunate for them once again. Hopefully, they can get back as a 4-man squad in the remaining few days. But that means we had 4 potential fights breaking out early, and yet only 2 players died. That is really good respect from all the teams in this lobby, except for Greedy 4 kills.
And the one thing I'm going to touch on with that Greedy 4 kills point is that Monster, as soon as he took the first shots, that's where INF were really smart. They said, oh, okay, so there's one of their players, or potentially one of their players, over towards here. Can we take advantage of this? And as soon as they knew they could take a fight, they did it as a team, right? And they knew the G4K were potentially going to be split up there. So good decision-making, really well held, and they put themselves in an advantageous situation, and now they need to hold on to it, because they're going to be down in towards the creator fields. And look, as we get closer to this, look how crazy it's going to get down in that southern side. Saints down there, AOK's down there. Oh, this is going to be brutal. And Drogons, people may not expect Drogons to come so late to the party, I guess, but like, hopefully someone will be aware and looking at it. Oh, nice damage. Oko. Lighting him up. Can he put him down? The car, it gets blown. That is not what you want to see if you're a Saint fan right now.
Oh, you know what? Stuff happens. It's Miramar. I can't hold them accountable. They just did not expect, and their car just got swiveled into a pile of dust. And overall, that was also some really sick shots coming out from Spazza 6. They had the opportunity at hand. They're not going to waste it, but now they're all going to try and go for the res. And unfortunately, it seems like the bait is somewhat working out. Saint will. Are they going to be able to pull that one off? No, there's no way. That is such a risky play. The smoke's able to actually hide them for a split second. And the res, I think, is happening. That is super surprising. I thought it was going to be game over, but they're actually getting backstabbed by Sway for a split second. But it seemed like, hey, he doesn't want to bite off more than he can chew. Back in the car he goes, and he's getting the hell out of here.
Lord, nicely done. Look at those shots. Shade. That's the way you want to see it done.
Oh, that spray.
This is huge.
Oh, okay.
Spraying them back, fighting it back. Okay, you lost the player from the car blown up. That was huge. I'm impressed. I honestly thought Saint were done for, Max. I'm just lost for words a little bit. I was like, okay,
yeah, same.
You had the car blow up. You've lost the player. You're pinned down, and look at the edge that we can fight off here for SG. But instead, Saint, they've got the confidence. They're ready to fight it back.
I don't know what to say. Like, just like you, Banks, I really thought that Saints were done for. At least they were going to lose 2 of their other players, and Jacob was going to be the one-man standing. You know what? They're able to get back on their feet and take the fight versus Spazza 6. And so far, Spazza 6, they are also in a 2-1 split currently. And because of this high ground position, Saint got the high ground spot compared to anyone on the side of Spazza 6. So they got the man advantage in terms of, because they see what's happening around the map. They see who's rotating. They see where they're moving around. So they can use that information to their advantage. Shade and True both going to try and take some sneaky shots. Maybe try and find it. The one-taps come out. And DT with the M4 going to find Lord right away, switching right on top of the secondary player. But that was a great knock. And he can see a few pixels, but yeah, the bullets are not going to go through.
Yeah, a lot of damage done. A lot of back and forth fighting out there. And they've made a lot of noise, which Drogons could have heard as they started to come in, as that is a hard northern shift. And that's benefited KHK massively. We said they needed a good game. Well, they might be able to sit on the edge, which they love to do, and wait for some of these other teams to come on in. And again, it's this south side. I said it at the very beginning at phase 1, this is going to be so tough. And all the teams coming up from the south are going to have limited access points. I'd love to see some of these teams now make a decision to take a longer route through.
A long route. Seemed like Blackjack, they're going to go straight to the center circle. At least they're going to try. Gazzy squad in the back and find the shot, switch them over. Oh, there you go. M24. One taps are coming out. Unfortunately, they go find a distance and they shall render out of view. So Flacco can't do too much here. He was one of the top fraggers, by the way, on that Sanhok game for the Son of Gazzy squad. So this guy, you got to definitely keep an eye out for him, Flacco, if he's able to get some 6 shots in there. But also, we're talking about positions here. One position was really strong is New Team. New Team, they're currently on the eastern side, high ground position. The tip is the highest point, culminating point of that circle. and he's on the east of Crater Fields. That is a position in terms of information gathering is great, but unfortunately is also a position that is so high up that is really hard to take good shots from. So I would say move your entire team down, keep one player up there to be your eyes, keep the information coming your way with a car so you can easily rotate, and you should be good. But Blackjack, when an extra knock onto Skull, looks for a double. Zayn is doing God's work right here, but the off angle is going to maybe shut him down.
Yeah, that's less than ideal. INF, they heard what was going on. They've got a high ground advantage to fight from as well. Zayn is going to have some cover fire from the rest of his teammates, but they still need to be careful. Hussein taking multiple shots through the smoke, wants to try and do some extra damage in here. And INF, they can patrol this mountain and keep everyone at bay. EJ, they're going to look and try and at least fight back for him, as Zayn is probably far from being able to be recovered here. I think you just have to leave him alone, right? You just have to say, okay, I'm sorry, we can't save you. It's too far away. This is too much work for us to do.
Yeah, just give your body up. You know that there's nothing you can really do. Maybe you can try and decide who you want to give that kill to if you're looking at the standings very, like, in a very scholarly manner. But overall, I don't think that's something that's going to be happening. Skyder gets picked up for INF, so that's one of their top players of Game 1 that's out of commission entirely. And then Blackjack can get the res onto Zayn if they put a lot of resources, but you said it earlier, he's in a really dire spot, so it's better to just give up on him entirely, remain as a 3-man squad. And especially with Swave, I casted this guy in Europe like for so long throughout scrims and PMCOs, and this guy's really an insanely good player. And it feels good to see him back into the African PMCO, and hopefully he's able to bring some good knowledge to the rest of his team, but Zayn does indeed die out.
Now, okay, already down 2 players. Not the start they would have wanted here, especially at phase 3. But again, this southern side, look how many teams you can just see on the map working their way through. And it is going to be a crater field ending. KHK now going to have to move quite a far away in order to be able to take this. Mestri doing a really good job here, flushing out some of these players from SG. The molly nearly hits. Maybe just touched him, tickled him a little bit. Burn his feet potentially. But Mestri has to be careful regardless. He wants to try and land this kill, but it's still true that he needs to deal with in front of him. Gazzy squad are also further towards the distance, but he shouldn't be too scared of that for now.
Mestri's looking for it. Oh, man. That's the perfect angle. True. Unfortunately, he's going to be out. Mestri is going to be pushing out one. He is greedy. He wants the points, but you know what? They still get eliminated regardless. And that is going to be indeed set and done. Unfortunately for the side of Spazza 6 to get eliminated in 16th position. The first team actually eliminated and win phase 4. I thought we would have already lost potentially 2-3 teams by now, but no. And now as I say that, I jinxed it a little bit. Apparently another team will go out. That's going to be Revolution up as they were once again too slow on their rotation. They win the blue on phase 4 on such a big map like Miramar. You should not be out of circle so late in the game.
And it is everyone coming down from the south that is fighting. They have had to march their way up towards the north over and over again. They're paying the price of it. Gazzy squad, they're trying to hang on. They know INF are close by. Nade's going up and forward. He's trying to find some success for him. Oh, he sees him now. That's going to be... Oh, no. No, he's being careful. Blacko, you want to take it? I know you're scared. There could be other players shooting at you.
He gave it a try. Not going to happen. Nexus Esports, though, taking a fight versus Undisputed Esports Africa. And they have been a team that, hey, Chicken Dinner, second position, 2. If they win this, they could be in a really good run once again for another Chicken Dinner. But Inspector going for the off angle, trying to wrap around.
Ooh. Inspector. Good job. He's got his teammate backing him up. Time now needs to be super careful. They're pushing him. They're forcing him down. And they're getting it done. Beautiful work from UAE. Teamwork comes through. And just at the nick of time, as Sahil was being pressured, Inspector was there as well, and they managed to hold it down and lock it down for the rest of them.
But now the most hardest task at hand is still up ahead of UAE, and that's going to be making it up the hilltop of Crater Fields. Yes. And we saw many teams set up over there. You got Inf up there. You're going to have also Gazzy squad. You're going to have also, normally if they didn't move away, I haven't seen it so far, is going to be a new team. They had a really good spot on the east of Crater Fields, and I don't believe they moved too much. So overall, if they're still up there, they should be the team to put the nail in the coffin for the teams down below. So hopefully they just got that position under control. But there you go, as I say it, Khan 98 shot from Darkness is going to find a nice shutdown onto Temper. as they are going to actually third-party that fight between Temper and KHK Esports. They were chilling on the southeast, but unfortunately now they are getting pushed closer and closer. And Darkness with this Kar98, he is just decimating this lobby.
Reverb, though, in the meantime, he's all on his own for KHK, and they have not had a good day so far. He's trying to take the fight to Temper. If he can eliminate them, that would be huge. That would be exactly what his team needs. But he's slowly jumping down, tries to pop the first aid. Will he be given the time to do it? Oh, this could be huge. They're being tapped up from the side. Temper, they can't hold on. It's new team putting the pressure on him at the same time. They've jumped up into the fight, and that's it. He gets it done. He gets the kill. Reverb standing strong, but eventually he'll be shot down, and they're both going out of the equation. That's not what they would have wanted here, but it's Darkness making it rain from up on the hill.
They talk about American Sniper. We haven't talked about African snipers. Damn, this guy is on top. Darkness really showing up to the occasion when it comes down to sniping it down. And look, this... what is this circle? It was good to create your fields, and now he's on the... Man, I gotta say, in just 3 days, I've had the most insane circles compared to the entire month of PMGC in Poland. And this is mind-boggling to me. And new team, they are gifted potentially the best position in the circle. They're on top of the rocks, which are, by the way, super hard to get access to. If you want to jump up there, it might take you an entire minute to just make it up those rocks without slipping down. But they're still sending Darkness on forward. This is what I like to see. New team on day one, on their first day, they never would have done this. And this is once again them showing that they have improved as a team and improved on their shot calling as they pin Darkness forward with his deadly Kar98 and looking to pop a few heads off.
All I've been hearing is those deadly one-shots from the Kar98, and he has been finding so much success with it. Not only is it a scary shot, but when it hits, boy, game over it is for you as well. Now for Zeus at the moment, they're trying to sit up top. Iron Man scouting around, and he's being cautious. I like this. You see how he's just trying to play off the angles. No player out towards that distance, and you can see maybe he's just a little bit scared at this moment. Pressure has certainly been applied, and I'd be very scared of this circle as well. We laugh about it, but for the players, this is awful.
Unless you're new team. Then they're like, yeah, yes, we'll take, please, yeah, please give us those circles. We love it. Wait, if that grenade... No, okay, that was a molly, actually. You know what? My eyes are still playing some tricks on me, apparently. But unfortunately for them, Zeus, Esports Africa... I guess it's fair to assume that they're in a world of trouble. They still got to push their way forward, and they're up against a cliff, a literal hard cliff. Like they cannot make it up there, and they are going to struggle just to even wrap around because our teams on the east, teams on the west. So I think that it's fair to assume that Zeus are going to be dying out. But you know what? They might be able to make it. You never know. The sprays come. Wait, they don't shut. Wait, he survived that?
Yeah.
And Phantom 2? Oh no. Okay, you know what? I take it back. I don't know what's happening anymore.
This is luck on the side of Zeus and good timing for sure. Because every time they move, Relax has to take a few shots, but they're getting further. Oh, no.
Oh, come on.
You can't be serious. You can't be serious. You have a great position and you fall on down. I think you're going to have to say good night because you've not got a hope in hell's chance with that. No one's going to go for him, surely. That's a huge risk.
And that's the moment not Rose's knew. He messed up big time. Big time in this one. So he's just going to have to... Wait, no. Iraq, don't go for the res. Please don't. Please. Oh, no. Really Operation Saving Soldier Ryan. He's going to say he's sold not roses, apparently. But you know what? He's making himself possible to get killed by Zeus here. And they're super happy about that one. Oh, my God. What's happening?
All right, the smoke's down. Now his teammates do need to provide some cover fire. You've also got to remember that Darkness with the Kar98 has now got himself in a vehicle. He's repositioning himself because he was taking multiple shots over towards the Drogans, who are also taking a fight right now with AOK and actually doing some nice damage. Darkness trying to land some shots here. He needs to try and make these connect. Dan willing to try and take the fight against him. Relax been taken down by Blade, though. That's some precision aim coming out from them. The Drogans, they're just sending it forward. They're ready to take the fight. Darkness, he's been knocked down, and it's going to be very difficult for his teammates to save him. He was so far forward compared to them. And Blade, he's going in for the finish off. More bullets raining on down on the Drogans. This is their time to strike. They can see what's going on around them, and they want to push their way into the circle. This is certainly possible, and Dan is the man right up at the front, forward facing, wanting to get into the action. This is looking not so bad now for him, where for New, they've been in a world of trouble. Players are going down. Iraq is knocked on the floor, and not Roses. Well, he was survived, but now he's the only one left alive.
Oh my god, not Rose. You know what? He got rezzed up. You gotta prove it to us that it was worthwhile. They went from 100 to 0 in the snap of a finger. They were like, they're on top of the world, and now they're in hell and even down below. As UAE slowly they were able to move their way. They were supposed to be gatekept, by the way, for the new team, which did not happen in the first place. Already that should have been a little bit of a red flag. But now there's going to be Dragons. They on top of the mountain. They snatched away that position away from the side of new team. And they're in a position where they're looking great. What a shot from Maniac, by the way. That was clean, but the knock has yet to come on through. But mainly this is going to be between Zeus and UAE. Whichever team makes it out alive might be able to take a shot at that win, but you got to make sure that the other team is eliminated first, because making it up this hilltop is going to be a really hard task at hand.
I just got to say, right, if you're the shot caller for new team and whoever allowed not Roses to be rezzed, you gave up so much with that. You committed to rezzing one player, and now you only got one player left. Now, Typical's in a nice spot, considering they're only starting with 3 players. Typical's still alive. They've not got any kills, but you're in top 6, so you'll take the extra placement points, and they desperately need it. But he may not be looked at here. If he can get away with just doing some damage on some players walking on up where they're busy elsewhere, he might be able to pick up some kills alongside it, and that would be huge for his team at a moment like this. There we go. He starts to strike. He starts to take the shot. This is what I was worried about. They had no idea. He misses a fair few, but he has done damage. He's still going to continue to try. And Iron Man's just hiding behind the tree, not helping out his teammates just yet. As Typical, look to try and find some more cover. You don't want to go into the blue at this stage, mate. We are at stage 6. It can start to hurt. I would certainly avoid that for now. And the Drogons, they've now found themselves at the top of the hill. They found themselves in a great position. And it's Dan. He's able to get the first one in there. Maniac's trying to fire back against Nero. And while Typical is also still fighting up against Zeus, it's Phantom who's eventually going to be dropped. But can he get the vital kills he needs? And that's it. He confirms it.
Might be even able to say that Dragons are the new team in this lobby. They took away that spot really dominantly. But Typical is really fragging out in big ways, and he still has yet to die. He also got an extra knockdown onto Zeus, so that's great. Maybe able to get the knocks down, but Blade, he's holding the backline for his team as Nero did get knocked away, hoping that Dan, the man, can get the res onto Nero. That'll be big, but they're getting attacked from all sides.
Yeah, okay, trying to work their way up. They're so far down, but Blade is now aware of it. Heavy contesting of the mountain is taking place right now. Maniac looking for just a pixel to fight off of. Blade's gone down. Will he be finished off as well? Still alive, but he's low on health. They're going to be ready to deal the damage onto him and take him out of the equation. His teammates cannot save him. It's too big a risk. The car gets blown up and Blade goes down. A-OK, making their way up with just 2 players alive, but they found 5 kills already. Not Roses is now out, which means new team are gone.
Typical is still fragging. He's just going for it. He's a madman in this one. He's got nothing to lose, and he frags it again. On sale.
No one expects him. No one's looking for that solo player, right? They're all fighting towards the top. When you're on the top of the mountain, everyone is looking at you. And the Drogons are now just 2 players alive with 2 kills. Okay, you've hit top 4, but they know they need more because they were here very late to the party.
Damn, imagine if this is a steal from 777, I will not know what to expect anymore. I will believe anything. I'll believe in Father Christmas again. I don't give a damn. Like I'm going for it. But you still got 4 teams alive in this lobby.
Is real.
Oh, true. Watch. Sorry. Are there kids watching? Oh no. I'm sorry, guys. Okay, sorry.
Max.
Damn, I threw real hard. I thought I was smurfing here, but I'm not at all, man. I'm bronzed here. But regardless, 7 players still up and alive. A lot of one-man teams, by the way, in this lobby. So any angle that you can find, any one player you kill, not only is that an extra kill, there's extra positioning points every single frag you get. You've got to keep that in mind, that every frag is going to be that much more impactful throughout the entire ranking and also the entire leaderboard. So now, still Dan holding onto the angle. Lucky enough for him, he was able to get Nero back on his feet. So they are still holding on strong to the pinnacle, to the tippity top of this mountain. But we're still only halfway up when it comes down to this action, when it comes down to the game. But Typical, you got to say also, wait, I take that back. I was going to say he can't climb that. He actually climbed it? No way. I thought you could not do that. Okay, you know what? I'm learning.
So
I'm learning.
Oh my, how is this even happening? Drogons have got 2 alive, right? AOK got 1. UAE got 1, and then 777 have got 1. Okay. So Drogons, in theory, in the best position, but also they don't want to move. They don't want to move at all yet. Oh, okay. There's 2 players of UAE, 3 players of UAE. That's not bad at all then. So UAE in a good spot, but they're further down the mountain. All right, so now we've got a full view of what's going on here. We can see everyone that's going to be able to fight it off. Typical still the sneaky one. Eventually dies out to the play zone, so he's gone. He couldn't move. There was only so far he could try and go with it. Mestri, what do you do from here?
They can't climb. I don't think some of them can, so they're just going to... Oh, was that a nade? Yeah, I don't think they can. I think it will go down to a blue, to the blue tick damage, but especially with the man advantage here, what you would like to see coming out from UAE is clear out Mestra, and from there on out, try and take the assault onto the Dragons. That will be the main course of action, but with the blue zone pushing them so heavily and having to go uphill, as I said, this is very slippery. It's not easy to get up there, so I think they will still struggle regardless. But yeah, Dragons, Nero, Dan on the move. One sneaky grenade would be good, but I think they used every bit of grenade they had to actually make it in this position in the first place, so I don't believe they have many resources available.
Imagine if Dragons and UAE start a fight off with each other. Mestri just comes in to finish them off. The ultimate steal. The ultimate play. Oh, there's a smoke still in play, though. So they're going to create some cover for themselves, maybe. More being thrown out. They're passing over the utility to play with. Oh, no. Mestri's ticking away. He's low on health. I just saw that just on the side. Oh, he's healed himself back up. He took a bit of damage, and as he jumps up, he goes straight down. So now it's the Drogons versus UAE. They hear the shots and they want to take the fight. They're going to use the Drogons' own smoke against them to see if they can fight this off. Oh, Dan goes down. That's not what they want. He's overwhelmed. And now Nero, he needs to hold on to this position. He needs to play off it so well. The fight's going to start to happen. He's gone in for the first one. That's beautiful. Headshot landed, but he's overwhelmed. And the numbers advantage plays into full effect. And UAE get the win. A huge effort from them climbing up the mountain and dethroning the Drogons.
Good job from Undisputed Esports Africa, but I got to feel really bad for Nero in that one. That is 2 Miramar games back to back, by the way. But this guy is clutching it, trying his best to force his way through, which was a good decision making for him to flush that kill, by the way. That's an extra point 100% you could easily get access to. By doing so, he opened his side and he made it really hard for him to be able to take that 1v2. But Nero overall, I said it, the almost clutch god. I'm going to give him the title of clutch god. This guy is still really, really stepping up to the occasion. But regardless, we were talking about the wins. We're talking about Dragons doing really strong in that game, being able to snatch that position away from one team, and that team is New Team. Yes. That was one of the biggest throws. I rarely say one of the biggest throws or anything regardless, but that was one of the biggest throws I have seen. New Team, sure, he did good rotation-wise. He took a really good position, but man, sure, you want to always res your mates, otherwise they're going to hate you. I get that all the time when I'm playing with randoms in my PUBG mobile games, but come on, it is not worth resing one teammate just to lose away your position afterwards. So you got to put your focus and your orders back in order, hopefully, because that could have been easily a win for them. But regardless, we're going to go now into the rankings because I'm heavily disappointed. Get me out of that game. I want to see what's happening in the standings. As we're going to see then, INF, they're moving back up still. Top 4 position. They are standing up strong, but Undisputed, finally, they're going to be taking the undisputed top 1 position with 92 points, about to breach that 100 point really soon.
And they are the first team with 2 chicken dinners. Finally, we get it done. And also, the way I look at this, right, if you say you're getting over 90 points, that's pretty much where you've almost qualified, right? You can't really say they're not going to qualify that unless something really insane happens and they just don't get any points going forward. I think this is the comfort point for them. So that is 2 chicken dinners for them now. They got 26 points in that game, 11 kills in total, and 15 placement points with that. Not bad at all from those guys, especially the fact they had to fight their way from down there. And like you mentioned, with New Team, that's just, it's going to be painful for them. They ended overall in 5th place from that. 5th place, and they only got 4 kills alongside it, despite they were able to shoot down on everyone, Max. They had the best fight opportunities. I'm going to come back to that revive onto Not Roses. That wasn't the smartest decision. You risked too much for so little.
It was a slippery slope. Not only did Not Roses slip down from the mountain, also they slipped down from potentially a chicken dinner position to a 5th. So that's a very unfortunate one. But anyways, regardless, that is going to be our top 16 teams currently in the rankings. We're going to head on over to the second page of our rankings to see what we're currently dealing with. Revolution up, I mentioned at the very start of that game, a little bit too slow on that rotation. That did get kept very early on, which normally in Miramar, phase 2, phase 3, that doesn't tend to happen all that much. So Revolution up, I think that a lot of VOD review is going to be required for them to hopefully make it back in that top 16. The 18th position currently is not that far off, just a few good games as consistent results, and he should be good and dandy. Say also, they've been still stepping up their playstyle. I still got to say, rotation-wide, they still got to step it up, just like Revolution up. So hopefully these two teams know what they have to work on to. And Greedy 4 kills. We had a weird fight early on coming out from this one, Banks, in La Cobriera, taking that fight initially was INF. And yeah, they also had one of their players that was also really far away from the team. So Greedy 4 kills, I think they really got to reconcentrate going into game 4 because this was definitely not a standard that I want to see Greedy 4 kills play at.
Oh, definitely not. Yeah, that was very lackluster from them on how they played it out. And INF took full advantage of that. And that's why they're right now so much further up the leaderboard of it. Pubg squad and 777 esports, it's looking real rough for these guys now. Like 777, typical. I'm going to give him ultimate respect for what he did, but you still only finish in 4th place. And so you've got 8 placement points and 3 kills. So it's like 11 total. It's not terrible. But do you think that's 11 total of your 14 total you've had across now? How many games is this? They've now played 4, 5, 6, 7 games. So you're nearly 8 games. You've only got 14 points. It's like, this is rough.
Yeah. I got to say, that was some really good math, but I don't know if that means anything coming from me specifically, but still, you take it as you will. If it's a compliment or not, take it as you want. That's okay with me. But still, Miramar, there you go. We're going to be done with Miramar for today. Some really good plays happening all around. A really unusual finishes, which they're becoming like almost mundane to this point. We're just having unusual finishes left, right, and center. It's you. You're like the lucky, unusual circle guy. Is that a good title? I don't know. We'll have to work on that a little bit.
Yeah, we will have to work on that a little bit, but we got one more map coming up. We're going to Erangel next. And well, this is where I want to see KHK shine because today's not been great for them. They're slowly dropping on down, and it's not like they've played terribly, but they've just not been able to find any success. Even with Miramar just then, where they had a good circle. I think that's something to point out. They had good positions, right? They were able to come on in, but once it started to fight on that hilltop, they just got overwhelmed.
This just having so many good games today, I gotta say. There's 2 reasons why I don't want this stream to end. Reason 1, we have some great games happening today. And reason 2, once the stream ends, I gotta go do the dishes. So I want to stick around as long as possible. So hopefully I can stay here. But still, now going into game 4. That's a big oof indeed. We're going into game 4. Hopefully, we can have some good games, close out the one off properly. Because I gotta say, the level of improvement, I've been nailing this point down. I sound like a broken record. I get it. I truly do. But how this team have been able to improve is just astonishing to me. Dragon's almost able to snatch a game once again on Miramar. It is potentially their strongest map so far in the entire tournament. So coming into the next few days, I want to see if they can maybe close off a game of Miramar with a win. I think that would be a good conclusion to their Miramar arc, and that would be great to see overall, Banks.
It will be great to see overall, and it will be great to see one more game. And that's what we've got coming up for you next. We're kicking it to a break, but make sure you join us in just a few moments as we bring you the 4th and final map of the day. One more game remains for day 3 here at the PMCO 2021 Spring Split for the African region. And my, oh my, today started off with a lot of grenades, a lot of craziness. We've had the most interesting Miramar circle ending we could ever have in terms of, we got posted up on top of the hill. It was at one point going to Crater Field. The teams had no idea what was going on. A new team probably regretting everything they ever did on the end of that map.
Yeah, new team. I think we'll just forget about that one. That never happened. Just like we're gonna feel just like in Men in Black and just forget about it entirely. Just like, well, Miramar. I think we're just making our way into game 3 now. Hopefully, they can improve and learn from that and do some rod review and maybe cringe at it a little bit. But they'll be like, okay, we did mess up. It's fine. We'll improve on it on the long term. That's okay. Yeah. But now game 4, we get into it. We get into the nitty gritty of it all. For all of these teams, this is going to be their 8th game in the event, and you got yourself a total of 12 games. So after this one, they're only going to have 4 games remaining for a lot of them. So this is basically going to be their last chance to really impact heavily their standings so far. If they lose this one dominantly, once again, you've got a lot of teams down in the bottom side. Once again, 777. Ghazi squad is going to be another one of the team. Nexus Esports, we have barely seen this team, and they only got 8 points in 7 games, which is a really, really bad show so far. So they are teams that still, because you have potentially so many games remaining at hand, you can still make it into top 16. Sure, it's going to be barely, but you can still make it up there. But that's going to require a drastic change of mentality, a drastic change of gameplay overall, because if after 7 games, now almost 8 games, you have not been able to secure over 10 points, there's something wrong. And I don't think it is just unlucky circles or anything. This is just something that you're doing does not work, in which, that's fine. We're all trying different strategies, but they tried something that didn't work. That's fine, but you must then move on. Just like, okay, that didn't work. Another strategy. Let's give it a shot. And if you don't do that, unfortunately, you're going to stay stuck in a playstyle that doesn't work and doesn't suit you, and you're just not going to be able to perform.
Now, when we look at the playstyles and what we saw last time around when it came to Erangel, right, is we saw that Saint, they got away with having their Novo position. They didn't have to fight for it. It wasn't contested. We've seen Saint be more confident. It's looking not so bad for them. They're working their way up. They still haven't had a huge game though, right? We've just liked what we saw better than what we saw in the first day of this team. Now it's coming to this day and you go, okay, it's better, but is it going to be enough? And that's going to be the question around it. 100%, we've got to look at UAE, who've just come out absolutely huge from this. Not only do they sit currently up at the top with 92 points, but they have had 2 chicken dinners, which is impressive. We've often said, right, inconsistency, it doesn't mean that you have to get the chicken dinners, but if you're this good and you can get double chicken dinners on top of all the kill points alongside it, then you're pretty much sitting pretty with it. KHK, I think this game has to be the statement game for them, right? They need to show up in a big way because they impressed us so much on day 1 and it's slowly slipping away and it's looking a bit scary. And Temper, we've seen moments and glimpses of the team that we've been hearing so much about, but they've not really delivered to say like, oh, that's a dominant victory or this is a really good clean cut. The engagements of times have been awkward. They haven't been able to actually have greatest of positions when they've tried to rotate their way in. So it's going to be the rematch on Erangel. It's going to be an attempt to see what these teams can deliver one final time. And it's really where they now have to look at themselves of, okay, if we don't get enough points in this game, it starts to look really dire for us.
This is going to be where you need this drastic kind of change, and we're going to be making our way into game number 4 very soon. But before that, we've got some other teams to potentially start talking about here. Revolution up. I've been kind of bullying this team, cyber bullying this team, saying you guys are rotating way too slow, and I think it's just straight up fact that these teams getting gatekept left, right, and center. They're struggling. Here, I want to see them be a lot more proactive on this one. Even if it doesn't happen today, I want to see them on their 3rd day at least be a lot quick on their rotation, being like, okay, the circle goes here. Snap your finger. Okay, we already got a game plan. This is mostly down to when you have issues of rotation, down to an issue of IGLing. So sometimes you just want to put yourself a little bit in question and say, okay, what I'm not doing is not working. How can I improve on that? So hopefully a little bit of extra VOD review that we've been also hammering down for these teams to hopefully do. That's what I'm going to be looking out for Revolution up to do in this game. Hopefully, at least, that's what's going to be happening. A new team. Once again, we're going to forget what happened. Blackjack Esports, also, they've been, I think, fragging up pretty good. They've been feeling pretty confident. They've been a rather consistent team. They're not in like the top position, but also they're not on the lower side of the standings. They're just even Stevens, nice and slow and steady wins the race, as I like to say. So overall, Blackjack Esports, they just got to improve a little bit of everything. No rotation pathing, their shot calling, also their fragging power when they go for full-on fights head on. So I think that overall, this is a team that's already got a good idea of what to do and how to do it and how to execute. But there's still just a little few things that you can fix left, right, and center to potentially make in that top 5, even potentially top 3, because I do believe that Blackjack Esport is a team that could end up in there, not only in the group stage, but also in the finals of African PMCO.
We've also got to look at greedy for kills, right? Because They've shown us moments of brilliance. They've shown us moments where we go, okay, there's potential with this. But right now, they're very far behind.
Okay.
They've got a lot of catching up to do, you know? It's like the catching up now is do or die. It must start to show us some success of it, because when I look at it, they've got, okay, so they've had a chicken dinner, right? But then they've only had 16 placement points and then 8 kill points. So that's what we talk about. Just because you got a chicken dinner doesn't mean necessarily that you're a good, well-versed team when it comes to it. So if they really want to try and climb up here on the final game of today, well, now's your time to make it happen. And you got to remember, you look at this, when we come to our top 10 teams at the moment, still 11th and 12th with Gamers United Nations and Elfex Apex. They've only played 4 games and they're still within the top 12. Same as Team UNK, same as Slime 4KT. You're still within this position where you'll be playing tomorrow and you'll be loving life no matter what.
They'll be having some fun time for this, but 2 teams I know are not going to have fun time. That's going to be Saint and also new team that usually likes to drop into Novo. So it comes down to it. I said it. Saints on Miramar, they couldn't go to Campo Militar. They shifted their drop location and went for Chumacera. Hopefully they're going to do something pretty similar. Or if they want to go for a long drop, go for farm, pick up a car over there or next to Milta, make it into Novo. That is also another way of doing so. And second drops will always be a saving grace if you're just always cautious of how you execute those, of course. So far also 777, very chill. They know they're 3-man team. They can't take the fight head on. They're going to go for somewhere where they know no one likes to drop. So that's going to be next to Lipovka. That has been so far completely uncontested as of all the Erangel games we had so far in this PMCO. And yeah, overall, the Erangel game, we mentioned it. This is the map that we're going to be having played the most. Is 50% of all your total games, so teams tend to know it a lot better, which is why I'm also not surprised this is the map on which teams adapt the most, but seems like they're going to adapt to this interesting phase 1 circle as it goes heavily down south, a little bit over to the west, but a lot of water is in play here.
Now, Max, this almost looks similar to the military base game we had last time around, right?
Yeah,
it's very close to being a similar circle to yesterday's game. That was one where KHK, they rotated like they are, all the way from Severny, which we're looking at right now up in the north, and they still found their way. They went to Ferry Pier, swam across of all things, and still managed to work in. In this kind of a lobby, from what we've seen from these other teams and players, I don't think they'll be able to get away with it in the same way, but you said Saint might be in trouble. They may have just been gifted something beautiful here because, okay, it might take them a lot longer to go over and get their way to Novo, but once they get there, they're pretty much sitting pretty as long as they play the confident game we've been seeing from them so far today.
But they also got the information of this phase 1 circle. If I were them, I'll be like, hey, scrap Novo. That area is not fun with this kind of position. Go straight into military base, loot up as quickly and efficiently as possible, and go straight into the mountaintop position because that is a really central position. Or also, if you want to be in a really good spot, you got a nice road compound that's down south of the Western Bridge. Go there, and if the circle, it has a slim chance of happening, but it's also the small RNG factor got to try and make up for going into these games. Is you never know, it could go back to the mainland, go back towards Ferry Pier or Primorsk, or even to the side of Gatka Fields. And that's something that can happen from time to time. It's very unfortunate when it does happen, but it is still an eventuality. So I would say go into that compound, loot up there, get a little bit of extra loot in military base if you decide to do so, because that plane path is not facilitating things for new teams. So they could expect new team to go for another drop location. They could almost assume that, but you still want to be careful and scout to make sure 100% no one's over there. And then if you go in that compound like that, if it does go back up north, you can easily instantly rotate over the bridge or pick up a boat if you've already found one for yourself on the coastal line and make it back to the mainland. So that's a game plan that I think is basically already set for Saint. And I think they can try and play that one really well because they have good opportunities available. So I want to see what their shot calling capabilities are going to look like in a game where phase 1 circle is not very telling as of yet. We don't know where it's going to end up.
And another thing, right, to touch on is that they may want to also look over because it's normally Spazza 6 that would be going to military base. But do they even take that? Have they gone somewhere else? Did they fight for it? Did they look at it? Because that's another thing that we'd have to be careful of with Saint if when they go over there is what teams have already decided to land or if anyone else decide to take a different course of action. We'll have to wait and see. We'll have to watch it all pan out. But Nexus at the moment, we were touching on them a little bit to see how well they were getting on and what they were able to do so far. And they are another team that we've seen potential from them. There's certainly some good opportunities in the individual players. They've just not had any luck with the placement points or the kill points. They're right down the bottom at the moment. And the only other team that's close to them is just the teams that have played 4 games, really. So they've got a long road ahead of them if they want to find some success. Saint already getting themselves the vehicles. Obviously, they struggle because they had so far to go. But they're going to be playing it smart when they cross over the bridge because they don't want anyone to potentially being able to wait for them at any point.
They're just checking every corner too, just to make sure that No one's there, even though they pretty much know, but you're never too sure when you're playing a game of PUBG Mobile. One guy that you're just not expecting it to be in a position, and you're just like, oh, well, now I just got squad wiped because you got a 2-man, 2-car rotation, and that's how the cookie crumbles from time to time in PUBG Mobile. So you always got to be very cautious, which is what Saint is doing. I love the overall mentality they're taking going into this game. So great stuff from them. I'm intrigued to see also if there's going to be other teams going for similar play, but going over the Western Bridge. I thought Saint would go there. They had decided to not doing so. They're going to go to the east of Sanhok Island. Art of Killing. Also, Nexus play. They could be two of the teams that could think of going to Fairy Pier or crossing over the Western Bridge initially, or at least gatekeeping it, which is something that Art of Killing did on game 1, if I'm not mistaken. I do believe they went for the north of that Western Bridge and tried to gatekeep a little bit, but I would like to see them go there. I think that they are a team that when they are given a really strong compound, a really strong position to take shots from, they are a team that really come together as one of those dominant forces in this lobby for the African region. So I think that Art of Killing, once again, they are really showing to us that they are a team that, sure, they don't get those big chicken dinners. They're not the most pop-off explosive teams, but when it comes down to it, it doesn't matter. But what matters is Swave. He's crossing over that bridge and... Wait, what? Realistic. Okay, I didn't know he could do that.
He's just playing it smart, you know? He's wanting to avoid any confrontation, avoid any risk going into it. His teammates are going to go and try and take down True. Certainly got the numbers on it. I like this from Nukas. That's smart. Just check behind you, just in case. You may have spotted a lonely player, but there is chances he might have been able to see someone else, and he's just going to get punched up. MG to get the easy first kill, no problem at all. And he'll grab himself some good old loot for all of his hard work. Bit of a funny start for it all, at least.
You know what? They're in a good spot. New team. Just looking on forward. A few shots coming out from the plateau area up north of the Western Bridge. Can't idea A, you're feeling damn confident, Darkness. I mean, after that last game, you know what, with the shots that he was pulling off, I gotta say, I would feel damn confident also. Especially, you got to keep in mind that you must not slip down again, hopefully. I mean, in both ways, mythorotically and also literally, like, you got to be very cautious of what you're doing here. So hopefully they're not going to allow too many teams to get up front of them, because a lot of teams took that compound. I think that U team are going to be the team to take down that spot first, but no, it got snatched away from them by, that is actually going to be greedy 4 kills. They took it for themselves, but this is a spot, the new team, they're on the plateau. It's hard to contest it away as they are up ground. They don't really have to dive it whatsoever. Oh, Darkness, he gets it again. This guy is deadly with the Car 98.
Okay, just Darkness, play with nothing else. Just play with a Car 98. Just that's all you need.
2 snipers.
Shots like that. Yeah, just double up, you know, why not?
A Kimbo Orm, let's go.
He's just pulling it off. What is this? Like, okay, it's easy for them to revive him. He doesn't get the kill from it, but he hits some nasty shots. We've seen it time and time again. And I was about to say, from this position, G4K cannot afford to go down early. They need to have a good game. One of the teams, like we said, they have won a game already. They've got themselves a chicken dinner. They only have a total of 16 placement points and 8 kill points. They're down in 22nd place at the moment. It's time for them to shine, and realistically, they need to battle back here against New and not be overrun and gunned down.
They messed up that Darcy, unfortunately. So that's the parking ticket right there. They're going to have to potentially pop it off. You can use a grenade. That's one thing you can do if you got like a car that's parked badly. Like Beast is trying his best to get it out. One grenade would actually pop it backwards a little bit, and he will still suffer some damage, but at least it is a useful car you can still use in some way. Or at least reposition as a mini fort. So that is also a trick that if they want to use a little bit of utility to get that car back into play, that would be great, because I wasn't able to see another car. If that's their only car and the Sarku moves away, I mentioned it many times, this position is great to defend from. It is a completely different ball game as to rotate away from this spot, because it's super flat terrain all around. But Nexus, they're already in the boat. So like, hey, I'm a pirate now. Going into play. I'm part of the Caribbeans. Let's go.
And KHK, though, they're going on a different route than we shifted.
There you go.
We shifted away from military base, and KHK luckily didn't start their journey across the water or the bridges just yet. And now KHK can do what they love best. We spoke about it. They sit on the edge of the circle, they wait for players to push in, and they'll say, okay, we'll take the fight onto any of you guys now. This Western Bridge is going to be scary now.
I'm a little bit sad because we brought this up, Banks, at the start, that we wanted Saint to potentially go for the western side and go straight there and not Novo.
Yep.
And guess who's there? It's Dragons now are in that position, and they can easily rotate, potentially, but Blackjack Esports and Gatekept Leader's going to be on top. And this is the spot also I said earlier. I wanted to see Art of Killing go in this spot because I think they would excel so good at gatekeeping on the bridge. I think they are a team that tend to play really aggressive when the opportunity is available at hand, and they're doing so well against Blackjack. And only Zane makes it through. And he's like, hey, sorry lads, sorry team. I'm out. If you guys catch up, that's great, but you got a game. You're gaming here, okay?
They are gaming indeed, and well, this game's got a lot tougher with this new circle. Just for all the viewers at home, me and Max keep a track of screenshots from each map circle that we get across this. And honestly, these last 2 days have been pretty wild. We've got some crazy ones. Everyone was starting to make their way now down south and thinking they would have some success. And I'm just looking at the screenshot you sent. It was Nexus that were already in the water. They were already making their way down to military base, and the poor guys now,
I'm sure they did
make their way back. Yeah, they're like, this is an error. This is less than ideal.
You know, as long as they're able to respond and get back in a good position, that's great. But overall, a few teams might be getting gate-kept around the bridges because they're still Art of Killing. They're holding really strong to that position. M24 also in hand for leader. I do believe that was. He's doing great. But wait, Swave just jumped down under the bridge. Does he know Saint is there?
He was being shot at by AO. Yeah, they're being shot by AOK, so he wants to make sure he avoids that. Yeah, so I'm guessing he's taking. It's a risk versus reward. Where will I might be seeing what might happen here, because AOK are just absolutely raining down on anyone that tries to cross the bridge at this point. And Saint, they're going to be one of the teams that also have to try and cross it. Maybe they go for a swim as well, and at least Swave could be waiting for him at that point, and that's even more of a problem. These poor guys might not be able to catch a break at all. They've still got 4 players alive, and that's a positive in this, but positive for how long?
Well, that grenade looked good. I thought he was going to thread the needle perfectly onto Nurkez, but unfortunately, Nurkez is going to stay up. Well, unfortunately, I say that for the side of AOK, not for him. That's great for him. He's super happy about that, but hopefully he can just move away from that one. Swave in the water, just going to swim his way forward. I thought Leader spotted that one out for a split second, but in the water, he's going to be mainly looking out for Saint. They're still under the bridge, potentially trying to retract back onto Sovnovka Island to take a little bit of a chill pill, take it slow, relax, maybe find a boat if they can onto the western coastline. But the unfortunate fact is when you're on Sovnovka Island itself, the boat spawns are drastically low. It is very rare for that to actually happen. So if you're lucky, you might get one. But other than that, the odds of that happening are very slim. So I would not put my entire game plan around a boat spawn potentially happening. So hopefully they're just going to try and pick up a bunch of car, full send it. Even if they have to swim their way through, it worked out for KHK yesterday. They took the first game after swimming for like a good old 2 minutes. So it is still possible. Oh my God. And we said it. We did not know phase 1 where it's going to end. And phase 3 is going to be the most telling. Straight back to Quarry and Ferry Pier we go.
And look at this for KHK, though. They actually decided to get away from the edge of the circle and push their way all the way. And they've taken a center position here towards the fields. And now they're going to sit quite nicely because all these other teams coming in from this eastern side, they're really going to be grouped up fighting alongside each other. These teams are going to have a lot of fights as they try to gain some ground and gain some space in this one. We spoke about them needing to make up for the mistakes of the previous map. We'll ignore it for the meantime, but now it's their time to shine and make something happen. They've got to take full advantage of what they've got in front of them. And yeah, I would just hate to be on the eastern side of this map. This looks painful. 777, they're on their way on a boat. And they've got some time to play with. They'll be one of the last teams over. So this could work out not too badly for them, right? No one else is going to contest it. If they go into Primorsk, they've got some time. They can play the safe game. I'm not against that.
They are lucky fellas. I don't know where they got that boat from. I do believe they might have got it from Novo, which has got really high spawn rate of boats onto the eastern coastline, but we'll see. But KHK, you brought it up here, Banks. They got themselves a really good spot, but I've seen some Kar 98 shots get involved in the kill feed, so make sure that long range is still not going to be a viable option. But Revolution up, they are here, ready to breach that position. But Kazu got knocked away, so they are taking this, unfortunately, not as a full squad, but as a 3-man team. As INF, another fight. We've got fights galore happening everywhere around Erangel.
This is the time to fight. Phase 3, and these teams now want the better positions. And INF,
Darkness!
They're pushing on forward. They want to make this work. They don't give a damn. They're fighting up into it. It's working out for him against G4K, but is it going to work out for the long game? Nice position here from MFP. He's taken a good few shots. He's able to take down 2 of them. This is great work from him. INF may have overstretched himself and overextended here. It's G4K. They've turned this around. And Romeo, well, he's turned up and he's not looking for Juliet. He's looking for the rest of INF to finish him off. MFP taking the shots, trying to make it work. He's been tagged up, so he still has to be careful. But it's Romeo on this huge flank. The grenade goes up. Oh, no!
Oh, no. And you're going to get rest up 14 too.
That's huge. That's huge.
That was a lot better than their game earlier.
Yes,
that was a lot better. Good stuff coming out from Greedy, but now another... We have a non-stop action over here. So going to head on over to Ghazi squad, taking their fight head on. But that's going to be against Zeus. As Zeus, great grenade from MHMD. Finds himself one, and now it's going to be King solo 1v4.
Oh, King, you're going to be overwhelmed, but can you get an extra kill point? Potentially, it's not going to work out. They've kept their team alive, and they'll be able to revive Phantom with little to no worries at all. And it is just non-stop fighting. I like some of these teams that are playing it smarter here, right? Going up the northern side. They're not just going to approach all from the eastern side. They're taking a longer route here. They're playing it a bit safer as the circle continues to go over a little bit more towards the west. But these eastern teams are now less focused around each other. Still a bit of a fight going on at Ferry Pier here as 777 are stacked towards the bottom of it. And Revo, well, they're going to just try and make sure they've got enough cover to heal themselves back up before they can engage in this fight, but they've already lost one player in this.
We initially thought this was going to be a Sanhok Island finish, but we are going to Quarry, ladies and gentlemen. This is a drastic change of pacing. These teams are like, we thought we were going to have an island finish, but no, we're going straight to the mines, straight into Quarry. And Quarry, especially with this kind of circle, this is not a circle finish that happens very often. So I would not be surprised to see a lot of teams potentially be inexperienced to finish around Quarry, especially on the eastern side of Quarry. You got a one tower building, a Harry Potter tower, in between Quarry and where KHK currently stand. Whichever team gets there first will be dead center of the circle, and it's so easy to defend from that position. And I think the INF are being there actually first. They're going to be the first team to take that building, to take that mini compound. And if the circle keeps going their way, then we might see an INF snatch away the win. As though on the beaches, every team is trying their best to make it over to the mainland. The 777, they're scattered away all over the beaches. As DD's trying to look for the shot, but nothing happens for Spaza 6 as of yet. Yeah, they can see what was going on. They're trying to fight some long range distances there, but it's not going to work out. Oh, Deity did manage to find one. Can he get the confirm? Can he finish him off? We'll have to wait and see. INF have been fighting from start to finish. Look at the kill feed now. It's all starting to pop off. Everyone is heavily under pressure. Revolution up. Oh. Again, back to the healing game, back to the waiting game of where they can go from here. KHK, again, 4 alive, but they've been very quiet, not only just in this game, but throughout every game so far today. This is the one they need to step up in. This is their time to shine. It's indeed the case for all of these teams. Hopefully they can try and shine through the darkness. As Darkness, talking about him, he's been popping off again with the sniper since earlier, so he is really, really stepping up in this game for his team as a long-range sniper. Oh, shot calling. But anyways, Olmaz going to be taking himself a great grenade for himself, take himself a team down to now 14 teams, 44 players. So a lot of teams not going to be up as a 4-man squad. A lot of 2-mans and 3-mans teams are going to be remaining in this lobby. So, okay, he's looking. They know they're surrounded here. Their focus should be really to try and potentially move center circle, because here they know they're getting heavily contested. So that should be normally the biggest of their worries. But they got another team up northwest of their location. They got teams all around. If they can just slip away from this, deal would be huge for KHK. But it seems like they are overstaying their welcome quite a bit. And they might bite their nails later on as they rewatch this game if it does go sour pretty quickly, which I do believe will be happening. But it seems like they are slowly trying to move away. They're trying to slowly slip out of that one, make it out of range of Revolution up, and leave them in that fight they have already brought up onto themselves over to the northeast. So things are getting somewhat locked down, but Mohaz with a mini 14 spots it out. Machine, Phantom, both in that compound for Zeus Esports Africa. He's waiting for that opportune time to strike. And that's what I like. The trigger discipline. Not shooting at the first chance, not giving away that they're under pressure. Make them feel slightly safer than what they should do, and then try and get the drop on them. And we're just outside of Quarry. A lot of teams still working their way in. UAE are actually in a good spot to come from the northern side. They're not going to be as contested as everyone else. Saint still got a long road ahead of them to find their way in. We'll sit with KHK, who have mainly got themselves in vehicles. It's Sully who's still looking around for now.
And it quietens down just a little bit as people start to figure things out of where they want to go from here. And like you mentioned, Max, it may be not an ending that a lot of these teams are fully familiar with on how they want to play this out. Sometimes we get that where it's a new experience for us all, not just the viewers and us covering it, but the players themselves. INF still been able to keep themselves in a good position despite the initial fights we saw them have to take.
Yeah. They got a great spread too, INF. They're holding on to a really good spread. They've got so many buildings currently under the control, so that means that they can make up for any kind of potentially really bad shift going up against them. Saying the Blue Zone is going to be ticking down on their health bars. But Dragons, they're going to be the ones that I'm looking at mainly here. They got to make it away from their southern compound, so they're going to struggle. But here it is on the cliff side. Here is holding on to that position up against new team. Relax goes down. Iraq is going to be left alone, stranded as a one-man team. They're nading it down, hopefully trying to buy some time. I believe he's going to smoke it up himself, but he is pinned down. He cannot move an inch here.
Yeah, you are not just stuck between a rock and a hard place, you're stuck between a car and a hard place. And that car blows up as well and does some more damage towards Relax. Some shots are going to be rattled off into the smokes. As we see KHK are on the kill feed now, are starting to get a bit more activated here. And this is what we expect. This is the time for them to come alive. 10 teams remained, 33 left alive. And they really need to bring their A game up now. AOK and Zeus ever so close. Leader needs to be very careful. That nade, a lot of damage done towards him, and he's got no players really close enough to him that he can be safe to be revived if he does go down. Nades galore going out. Once again, it's just the nade army from this squad.
And Zeus Machine finds a great molly. That's going to cook up Leader, and he's slowly going to be ticking down even quicker because of that burning AoE effect. So it's looking good, but overall, yeah, the nades have been good. And AoE, AOK, this is time for you to indeed do an AOK play and hopefully stay alive up against the side of Zeus Esports Africa. Still trying to force their way through, but the circle is going to be popping up very soon. It's going to go into phase 6. That's going to be very, very a dire position for KHK Esports as they have yet to go downhill. If they're going to go downhill in a breach that's currently still happening in the compound down below, things are going to get pretty slicey and dicey as time goes by. The Revolution up, they made it really quickly. They actually got ahead of KHK. KHK should technically be in a position of Revolution up currently, but they were not able to be quick enough on their feet to get in that position. There it is. Dragons going to be going for the full-on, send it away from the southern compound, going dead center. The thing is, can they survive it?
And that's what it's all about. Survival of the fittest, survival of the best that are trying to find their way in. They're being forced into the grasp of AOK. Iron Man wants to be the point man in it. Smoke goes down. I like the reaction. Mestra puts himself up high. Doesn't poke on it. Doesn't want to take the fight just yet. He's going to hear the footsteps. Goes in out for it. He takes down Iron Man. He continues to spray through. He even gets the kill confirmed as well. But he's very low on health. The pressure's on. He's trying to get the first aid popped. And they're not pushing him just yet. This could be a mistake on Zeus's part. Because they had the numbers, at least in this fight. Okay. They didn't have the information to know that that's going to be the way it is. But it is something they could have played off. They need to have the confidence. They need to have the idea that they could overwhelm them.
We might be seeing here Dragons snatching away the game. Dragons might be just stealing this entire game away. They went center position. It was uncontested for just so damn long. And INF, I believe, we'll have to see right now. I'm not sure if they're still up as a false team, but they still, you know what, Hansley is still popping up in the kill feed. Where's Hades also? So it seems like Influence are still looking good in this game. But Mestri in the backside going to get absolutely obliterated. Zeus still up as a two-man team, ready to still overtake the competition in this fight and make it through. But this position is still not in a circle, so it's not a good long-term option.
Yeah, long-term, you are going to have to move eventually. You're all going to have to move. You're just fighting for the extra kill points, but you're going to give up some placement points for sure. Remember, there's still 10 teams remaining. A fair few single players out there as well, or just a couple of duos. And what Machine, he's going to have to run the hell away. Samuka, he's going to spot it out. He takes the shots. He tries to make him connect. He wants to be able to finish him off. He'll be able to give this information over to his teammates as well, which is going to be huge. And Mestri, he knows what's up. He knows exactly what's up, but he has to avoid the blue. You need to run now before it starts to close on you. And that's exactly what he starts to do. Him and Skull want to push forward. They're shooting up onto KHK as well. More shots to be landed and knocks to be found, but can they get the kills confirmed with it? They're fighting and more teams are dwindling. We're down to 8 and it's moving oh so fast.
INF, they got every single team that's got a spot and an eyesight on them, so they're going to struggle quite a bit. Mercury goes for the spray. Not too many bullets connect, but Skull, he's been deadly from the low ground. And normally low ground would have the disadvantage, but no, Skull, he's just popping off in style. And KHK, they are crying in their corner of the circle, caught in the circle. I was also pretty bad in geometry, apparently, as regardless, KHK, they're going to have to move their way down. There's the circle shifting hard down south over to the west. This could be huge for INF.
This is huge for Skull, though. Look what he's doing. He's just wrecking them. Long distance from the low ground, popping KHK like it's nothing. He does this all day long. UAE also trying to take the fight to INF like you mentioned, Max. But right now, it's just fights from start to finish. KHK, they are stuck. They are pinned down. And AOK, if they had a grenade, that would be perfect for him to try and use right now. But you know what? They're just happy taking this fight because Skull's hitting all the shots you could want.
This is another great game to see. Over to the east of Quarry. Doesn't happen too often, but when it does, you know you got one bang of a game around the corner. And UAE, we didn't even talk about them because they've just been so silent, but they are still in this game, potentially trying to get another top 3. Though they're taking that fight head on with KHK. KHK still got Reverb and Mercury. Mercury's going to be out of the equation. It's only down to 1. It's Reverb solo, 1 up against the world.
And that world has 14 players left alive in it. INF. With a 3-man squad still up.
15.
In a great position as well. 15 kills and they're looking for more. They're not done yet. Make that 16. It's all going INF's way and they're looking to end the day strong. Reverb, he's pinned. He's got no cover. He's fighting out in the open and he's going to go down to Hansley. Great work with 5 teams just left and they're up at 17. Can they make this 20? Can they pull this off? An incredible victory here. A Skull, he's going to take some damage towards the blue. He's trying to find himself some cover. Oh, but Hansley's finding more players out in the open and he's putting them down alongside Temper as well, fighting back out there. And more shots to be had. The Drogans, you said about them having a good position, but Hansley, he needs to be careful. He overextends. He pokes his head too far up above. Hades should be able to nicely be able to get the revive, but they need to find some safety in this. They've got the hillside to provide them some cover, and I like the fact he threw out a grenade to at least keep them at bay, to keep them further back for now. 17 kills and a top 4 position for INF is huge, but you know they want some more.
We have to also realize, and say this once again, Miramar, on day 1, they were the only team so far in this event that got 20 kills bomb, and they might just make it happen once again. That would be huge for them to represent the African region in all future events to come. But Skull will finally get taken down after a huge killing spree he was able to put down on KHK Esports. Now it's 2 teams. 3v4 currently. It's going to be Drogans up against INF.
Drogans may have the man advantage. But have they got the game advantage? If Skydo starts with the knockdown they needed, but Jeff, he's firing back, he's battling back, he's not quite done, but Skydo's still putting up all the huge numbers. INF, they want to make this happen. They're fighting for survival, and the revives might be possible for Drogans, but do they have the opportunity for it? They're both trying to play it safe. They're both trying to play out for the long game, but they need to be careful. Skydo, he's ready to pounce. They're in the middle of it. These players are going to be low as well. Skydo needs to be careful of the slippery snakes. Going alone is a big risk. He's playing it solo. He's playing out for the fight, and he's the one to go down. May have given them the disadvantage in this now. His teammates need to react, and they need to react fast. There's a couple of players on Drogans who are low. Nero spraying him out, but he can't hand strong. Hansley, he's there, willing to fight for it. 2 players up in the air, but they don't have much health either. This is so back and forth. It's a big advantage for the Drogans. They need to be able to do this. And Hansley goes down. It's time to shine. Jeff is there making it work. He quickly prones to avoid some of the bullets. Hades is so low. He's trying to fight off against everyone. He's still fighting. This is insane. Jeff, what are you doing? Help your teammates out. You can't allow it to go down like this. This is absolutely huge. INF are pulling it all off start to finish. Jeff finally picking up some extra kills. And now we're into the 1v2. But one player, he needs reviving. And that is Dan. Jeff comes up into it and he does finally end it, but my God, that was far too close.
Oh my God, what was that game? They almost got a 20-point kill game again, and it was Hansley. I mentioned it, and also this was a game we did not mention this all around. Hussein, he was in this game initially, and then he got dropped out, and Sorry actually went in for his position, and because he was not there, Hansley became the main fragger of the team, and INF, they went for that position on the east of Quarry so early on in that game. They understood the value of that position in between the side of Quarry and also on the eastern side with all the hard terrains and those compounds, and they understood how good that position would be for the long term, and they played it just so damn well. But at the end, Bot Jeff, I mentioned this guy many times, Banks, and I said, we saw Nero, Blade, Dan, they all did some fantastic plays, but I want to see more of Bot Jeff. Sure, it was maybe a little bit messy on the side, but at the end, Bot Jeff was able to barely close off that game and secure a win for Dragons. That was super well executed regardless from this team. It was good to see them finally take a chicken dinner for themselves. And another team, like we're mentioning the big teams here, INF and also Dragons, but we also have to talk about the fact that we have a team that is still remaining goddamn consistent in these games, and that is the side of Temper. Like, they've been a team that was taking 3 top 3s on day 1, and here they come with another top 3 position. So, sure, they don't have that many kills, only 2 kills over and over to Shady, but what an insane game to end up day 3 on. But we're going to look now into the leaderboards, and here we go. 3 teams breached a 100-point bomb in the final game. That is mental.
INF just got 31 points. Second place, 12 points for the placements, 19 kills. Absolute beast mode from these guys at the end. And you mentioned Bot Jeff, right? And he played it good. Overall, I'm not going to criticize it too much, but I felt like he was just too scared at the end, where it got very risky in that fight. It should have never been into the 1v1. It's easy for us to sit back and say it right when we look at it, and I can't take anything away from the big win coming out from them, but that was so close. The Dragons could have let that slip away, but they're going to be very happy because that's bumped them up to 5th place now. And today, I believe they were just outside the top 16 at the beginning, if I'm right. Let me check. Let me check. Let me try my memory, my mind. Where were they at this point? So the Dragons, they were 14th after game 1. And so yesterday, they were 22nd yesterday. Oh no, I've gone too far back.
Okay.
I've gone too far back. I'm wrong. Today, let's go. Today. So today, to start off with, they were 16th. So I was right. They were exactly 16th. They've gone all the way to 5th. Damn.
And they really, really risen up to the occasion. I'm not going to lie. Like you mentioned, Bot Jeff, like the moment he turned backwards and showed his back over to Hades, I was like, oh no, like this is happening. With the 1v3 clutch on like 10 HP is currently happening. But then he was able to get back, and he tried to go for the rest. He's like, you know what? No, I'm going to puff up my chest for a second, and I'm going to go for it and close off that game and take the win for Dragons. And he did so. He secured not only a win, this is their very first win in the event. It was so close on 2 reasons, by the way. That Miramar game on yesterday and also today, 2nd position back to back, and they must be a little bit salty from that. But finally, they closed off with a sweet ending, and that's going to be finally a dub. 81 points too. Catching up so quickly, you said it, 16th position to 5th. That is a huge jump over 4 games alone. So hopefully we're going to see a lot more from them on their last day, because they're only going to have 4 more games remaining in the group stage.
Yes.
Solidify their position in top 16. And then we're looking on it, one team that has Banks, I really have to say, they've fallen from grace. That is KHK Esports. They gave us so many promises on those 2 first games, and now it's just, where's the KHK? Well, they're gone. They disappeared.
These next 4 games that they have are going to have to be huge for KHK, right? They need to bring their absolute A game. We'll take a look at the rest of the rankings and see what's coming on for the other teams that are within it. Saint, they've made a valiant effort to work their way up, but again, a lot of these teams that are far behind them don't have all the points in there. Greedy for kills. I'm just left feeling like they could have done more, right? They have the potential. They can take some good fights, but they were very unfortunate in the early games for a lot of these times, and that's going to be something that they'll pay the price with here. It's not ideal for them. 777 didn't really move anywhere today either. Gazzy squad, it's looking very uncomfortable. So I'd say anyone that's like 25th to 32 right now, if you've already played 8 games, well, you're on the struggle boat.
I literally also for 777, as they were on that boat rotation, was Nexus, and it seemed like that did not really help them out too much on this last game of Erangel. But overall, even if there are teams here that are struggling, we brought this up earlier as a point, the fact that for a lot of these teams, this is their very first competitive experience. So it's okay to not like get a bang of a first tournament. Nobody does. You're not going to have someone like, even people like Rise in their first tournament, I believe they were pretty bad overall. So they're still going to try and evolve and improve over time, but that doesn't matter too much, as they still got some banger of a few games today. And we still got more to come. This is still now 50. We're exactly in the middle, 50% done currently with our group stage. 3 more days to come in the future. Hopefully these teams can try and get some better games every single time, because really it goes to show that how teams have been able to improve from like day one, I was very critical. It's like, oh, that's not good, you're doing bad. And now coming into day 3, hey, I gotta say, these teams have really improved. And I know I keep saying it, and these people are gonna be like, oh, that caster, he keeps on saying the same thing, blah, blah, blah. I get it, but it's true, because really, they have been improving so much. And I gotta say, that is not an easy thing to do. I could not do it myself. If I was playing, I would struggle to do that. Like, they have all my respect for that alone.
Well, this is the thing, right? When you're trying to rank up, you're trying to play high level in any game, right? You try to grow. Improvements can take a lot of time. Some of these teams are having to do it like game after game, day after day, make slight adjustments, and it's just about the grind and the work they put in. But Max, we're at the end of another day, and before we get to the end, we've got to thank Reno 5G. Remember, it's born to win. The coming Oppo Reno 5 series will be the official designated smartphone of PUBG Mobile for Middle East and African esports in 2021. Equipped with excellent hardware and software for gaming, the device should always be your lift to the upgraded fun and enjoyment in the battlefield. And it's been a lot of fun and enjoyment for us today, from nades to crazy circles to that insane ending we just had there. Still, just the way it went down. What an absolutely incredible fight from both sides on it. And it is still all to play for. We've still got plenty more days, Max. I've had so much fun.
Today's been mental. I really enjoyed it. We had, like you mentioned it there also, we had so many fun circles that, you know what, I was saying, oh, I want my boring circles, see how they played. We had the boring circles already on day 1 and day 2. Today, I want wild circle after wild circle, because you know how these teams play. Now we want to see what they do in those kind of unusual situations that, luckily enough for us, have been happening on a pretty regular basis. So we see how they tend to play. And teams like, Dragons, INF, they, in that circle, in that last circle, they went dead center. Nobody understood the value other than those 2 teams. Like, you know what? We know that position is going to be good. We scouted it. We know they're free. Straight into the central position. So overall, they got their eyes on a prize and they do not miss it. And at the end, that's exactly how you should be doing, because kills are going to be points and points are prizes in PUBG Mobile. And if you keep on having the eyes on a prize, you know you can make it really far. And hopefully, I'm looking for the INF and all those big teams up there. I want to see what they can do in PMPL against other metas, because now they're creating their own meta of their own. I want to see what's going to be doing up against other types of regions that potentially have a meta that's completely different, and see how they can learn and improve from those kind of encounters.
Well, I want to learn and improve as well as we go on this crazy journey. It's been a lot of fun, Max. It's another day that we're done here for the PMCO 2021 Spring Split here for the African region. It has been an absolute pleasure to cover this for you from start to finish, and I hope you guys will be back with us tomorrow for more of the fun action. Whatever you're doing for the rest of your day, enjoy it, and we'll see you back at the same time tomorrow for more of the PMCO 2021.